All right, and welcome everybody to the channel. It is the most earth-breaking, ground-shaking, but never media show money taking the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying YouTuber in YouTube entertainment today, Lee Coldefell. And welcome everybody to my review for Endgame. Fourth, oh my goodness.
Dude, you so said Phil. I'm not lying.
It's been a long week, okay? Endgame has been long on the theater world. If you work at the theater, this is the worst time of your life right now. But
I do not.
today,
I just visit for fun.
I throw
today is
popcorn
a
at the
historic
employees.
day. Today is a day where Geek in Disguise will live in infamy because he's going to hear me say something I've only said to my ex-girl once.
Oh, shit.
And that is, you were right.
Oh!
And you better clip this shit because this will be the only time I will ever say that you are right. Now, when I do my score, it's not going to be of a dramatic drop that you gave it, and I know you have your own your own valid reasons, which I'll let everyone in the panel talk about. But this is my review, so But no, I do have it at a considerably, probably lower and more than likely more reasonable score, and I will get into that when I get into my reasons for doing what I did as far as the scoring goes. But I'm going to introduce the panelists. First off, we have Mr. PB. Introduce yourself to everyone.
Hey everybody, it's PB here. You can find me at Pop Culture PB on YouTube and on Twitter. I do pop culture news, focusing mostly on Marvel and Star Wars, and I also do High Council highlights. Check them out. The most recent one is Jeremy's thoughts on John Campea. It's quite hilarious.
We all got to go see that one. Next, we have Prime Geek because he has the shortest plug ever. Go ahead and tell him about yourself.
It's so short that all you have to do is type in primegeekcollectors.com. There you go.
And this is why he's on every channel, because his plug literally takes like 5 seconds. And we have the Incredible Hulk himself here for us tonight on my channel. Geek in Disguise. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, Geek here. Roll over, check out my channel. Watch a few videos. Like what you see, smash the subscribe button. But I cover news, rants, reviews, reactions, whatever's my, I just seem to fancy that day. I'm loud and proud, and and no holds back.
He's also cooking my McDonald's meal right now. Hey, is my number 5 ready yet?
Yes, so today was a day that I wanted. Normally when I do, as you guys know, I do live stream reviews, but normally I do them by myself. So as I'm reviewing the movie, no one can tell me I'm right or wrong. I win. But this was different for me because I had one of those things I never wanted about this film. I had an epiphany. And
that's what we're calling it?
Yes. An awakening, if you will.
Oh.
Oh no.
No. No, I had a epiphany about some certain things. And we were talking about this, and it might have been the talk. It might have been someone mentioning the GD genie. Okay, it could have been a whole bunch of factors, but I saw Endgame for a third time, and now I was actually picking through different things, and I started to realize that it took me a little longer, but the Marvel lenses were falling off, and I started getting into like my real critique mode, my honest to goodness mode of critiquing. And I realized for me, it dropped down to about a 7. It was a tough one. I've been drinking good majority of the day right now. But yeah, I've been taking into account jumping on different streams. I've been taking into account everything I've been hearing. And then I love, as an MCU fan, I still rate it 10. So forget you, Geek in Disguise. No, but I mean, as an MCU fan, if as a biased person, I'm rating it a 10. I still like the movie. I still find it watchable. I still will go and view it multiple times. I'm going to own it. I'm going to own it with Infinity War. But after talking with you fine gentlemen and really putting some thought and critiquing it, because on these channels, when I do my review, it's not supposed to be from a biased perspective. It's supposed to be, when I'm reviewing for people, it's supposed to be from an unbiased perspective. And the shill media is holding this as like, they're saying the greatest movie of all time. And Geek in Disguise was like, what changed your mind? Well, that statement changed my mind. Because when you say that a movie is the greatest of all time, you are putting it up with Godfather, you're putting up with Taxi Driver, and greatest movies of all time. And to me, I don't feel like it is that. Do I feel it's highly enjoyable? Yes. Do I feel it's really, really good and fulfilled what I wanted in it? Yes. But would I call it the greatest of all time? You are smoking some serious cheeb. No way. You can't put this in a GOAT set. You can't. Infinity War, you could argue as being up there with great movies, but not this one. Not this one. And I was hyped about it for my own reasons, but I refuse to join the media in saying it's the second coming, because it's not. It's good. It's just not what everyone's hyping it up to be. So, being that this whole cycle started with you raging out on me, I'm going to let you go first, Geek in Disguise, so that you can feel that vindicated feeling of knowing that you were right. Go ahead, buddy. Really? We're going to go.
I'm just messing with you. No, man. I mean, and I had a feeling the media was going to start spinning it that way because it's an MCU film and it is the culmination. But I mean, once you get past the shiny, fantastic visual surface, and you really start looking at it, and then you start looking behind the scenes and you start trying to read in it. And it's just like, it falls apart. And it's not a completely disastrous movie. I mean, it still has its merits, but yeah, I mean, and I get it. You were hyped, man. You were high on the expectation and, so.
And that's the thing. When I went back through and for my third viewing, which I'll give it credit, there's only one movie that has pulled me 3 or 4 times. Well, no. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4 movies. Captain Marvel? The Lord. Oh my God. I don't know how to kick people, but if we say Brie Larson on this channel, that's a fucking kick. Unless it's Brie Lee, because those are my new T-shirts. That was clever. But no. When I redo it again, I'm still going to give it a 7 because I still think it's worth at least an upper score. Geek in Disguise, I don't fault you for your score. I think that for you, considering all of the rage you had towards that, I think that that's a pretty fair score to be down the middle. I think that's a fair review. For me, I go slightly higher for other things. But when I really looked at it, I really went back through as an honest critique, I give it a 7. And now, like I said, as an MCU fan, it would be a perfect 10 for me just because I'm looking at everything that has come in Infinity War and everything else, and I felt personally it did it for me. But we're not doing that, right? When we do these reviews, we're doing them for everyone. And
when I came out, I gave it a 7.5. But when you think about it, and it was just like my Game of Thrones review last night, you know.
Oh, I called
split
I
down
called
the
it
middle.
garbage. I'm yet to put that
Oh, I did
review
too,
up.
but I split it down the middle because I think what it is, a lot of it has to play into expectations and subverting them, and them kind of dropping the ball when you hype this movie up to be the all, be all tell all, just like they did Game of Thrones last night, and then you watch it and you're just like severely underwhelmed.
Yeah,
You're
but
like,
PB hasn't
that's
said, but we'll talk amongst you and me. I'm thinking too, maybe we should do a stream on that because I've got a lot of strong feelings, and I'll tell you, I'm like you were that night is how I feel about Game of Thrones right now. I'm so pissed. I don't even because of the fact of everything the way it went down, and I'm going to leave it at that. But we'll talk about it later.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, because then PB will get mad, and his character's already turning red. PB, you brought up some interesting points. So tell the people who are here, because I have my best friend, and he's got the same rating I have. Hey, Steve, I know I'm 10 out of 10 as a Marvel fan, but we're going to explain to you why, as critics, we can't give it a perfect 10, buddy. So stay in the chat. So tell for the people who may be thinking, oh, well, you're just hating on it. Tell us why you feel it's not a perfect 10.
Because they use a lot of misdirection in the movie in the same similar fashion that The Last Jedi does, like when the Hulk is talking about time travel. He says about 50 words in 2 seconds so that you can't understand exactly what he means. So I watched another video last night that somebody was explaining it that Kay suggested to us. So I watched that one, and the guy says they do it mostly correct. And I was like, well, then they don't do it correct if you can't just say that they do it correct. They don't even follow their own rules in the movie, because if they followed their own rules, Captain America would not show up at the end scene. And then there's, it's just some small stuff that they missed and stuff that they added that they don't need to. Like the women on the hill, that was a ridiculous scene. And then at the end of the movie, you see Nick Fury standing on the porch, but you don't see Maria Hill. She should be standing right next to him. She's always right next to him all the time. I mean, when they got dusted and brought back, I assume that you get brought back right where you got dusted. So she must have been standing right next to him on the freaking street.
Because Peter Parker made that. Remember, he said, me and Doctor Strange came back and said, it's been 5 years, we got to go. So that would imply to me that they returned, and this is all fresh in my mind because I saw it again, and I wanted to see it again for the third time and be able to get all of our facts right as we're saying them. And Maria was at the funeral. She was off to the side. But I get your point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really, this time I remembered and I wrote down all of our discrepancies, and I actually looked for stuff in the film. And yes, she was there, but it was a quick wide shot. They were going through so many people, and that's why that scene worked for me as far as Iron Man's character goes. I mean, I understand, like from Hoff's perspective, but I like the deaths and what happened with Captain America, and I do understand the bench thing because it was like you guys were saying. And Chris Knight said the same thing when we were on the stream. Once you guys brought up these points and I was actually looking for them, then it was like, oh my God, I finally, I understand. I get it now. Like what people are telling me seriously. Like I wanna give it a perfect 10 out of 10 as a reviewer, but I can't. Because that wouldn't be fair for people who watch my channel, and I pride myself. My whole opening line is I don't take money from the media shills, and which means I don't prescribe to what they're saying. Now,
right, and the way that they had it set up is as an entire movie. I don't think it's as good as any of the previous Avengers movies, but that has a lot of individual moments inside of the movie that are excellent. Like the scene where Iron Man gets the stones and does his snap to get rid of Thanos. That individual moment is great.
And
Cap
Geek in
doing-
Disguise. I've heard your hate, not to cut you off, PB, because I wanted to
okay.
get to him because I've heard so much negative. But Geek in Disguise, I want to hear your positives. Like, what scene stuck out for you that where you can say, because you had it as 7 and then it dropped just because of the inconsistent BS, which
and
we
it's
can
funny
all
you bring
agree.
this up because I was actually going to do a highlight video on it, so people don't get the wrong impression that I'm just hating the movie to hate it. I mean, I thought there was a lot of fantastic moments in the movie. Cap's arc, even though it kind of contradicts itself, I thought was fantastic and good, for his character. Falcon getting the shield, I've only been asking for that for I don't know how many years, because I never wanted to see Bucky, carry it. Nothing against Bucky, I just, I didn't think a war criminal deserved to be Captain America. And
Oh,
Yep,
yeah,
I
I
agree
always
with
felt
that.
the same way.
mind control or not, it's just, the world just, I don't think would accept that.
Hang on a second.
The Iron Man snap, good way to go out. I just kind of think it was a little poorly executed after the fact. I mean, I like Professor Hulk. I just wish Hulk would have had a redemption arc with fighting Thanos. I think instead of Captain Marvel fighting Thanos, it should have been Hulk.
But can we say that he did have a redemption in the fact of because the more I watched it, that part I actually liked more because it was a merging of two sides. Okay, when you look at the Hulk, even back in the old series, right, his main struggle is that he can't contain his rage. Now, when he becomes Banner and Hulk, to me, that was a symbolizing him finally finding the balance between strength and rage and calm and rational.
May I just point something out here because I'm calling BS on that. Because
Okay, go ahead.
the whole reason why Bruce Banner has control of being Professor Hulk is because the Hulk does not want to come out anymore.
No,
And
they
that's a fact.
explained that. You guys see the movie.
If you remember correctly, he explained in the movie that he made that whole decision to do what he's doing as Professor Hulk because of his ass whooping by Thanos in Infinity War. He said Thanos was the reason why he had to figure out the median between brain and brawn.
Yeah, so essentially he learned from the beating. And they realized that warring with each other wasn't working. Just brute strength wasn't getting it done, and just intellect.
Their
The-
mission was fan service, but I do believe there were quite a few fans out there wanting to see World Breaker Hulk finally show up.
Oh, I won't argue
Yeah.
that. That would have been awesome.
To me, seeing that happen on screen would have been a lot better than hearing about some. Yeah, we'll just go with that.
PB, how do you feel about that?
I think that they handled Hulk good. It could have been a little better, but I think they did what they needed to do because they said the whole point of why Hulk got his ass kicked at the beginning of Infinity War is because he wasn't a technical fighter. That Thanos was able to essentially outbox him in the fight and do some technical strikes and hit him in all the right spots, where Hulk is essentially just flailing his arms and tackling him.
Which is a fair
The more
point.
you hit Hulk,
Hang on.
the more you hit him, the angrier he gets, the more he's gonna whoop your ass. He just doesn't give up. He doesn't lay there.
Hang on for a second. So you're going to have to give me a minute here because my brain has lost a lot of information. But who's the character who Hulk fights in the first Incredible Hulk movie?
The same thing as him, Abomination.
Okay, so Abomination. Abomination was basically a tactical version of Hulk.
Yeah, essentially.
So you mean to tell me that Thanos, being a person who knows how to fight tactically, is not in the same regard?
Thanos is above Abomination.
Thanos is not exactly the same as Abomination because Abomination had the mental problems because of the serum not being correct. Essentially the same way as how Yellow Jacket's mind got all messed up because he wasn't using the PIM particles correctly.
But essentially what I'm trying to say is that even though that's true on that aspect, I'm saying that essentially with somebody who's had muscle memory with fighting styles, even if they are wacky or not with a serum, it's still going to be using that type of fighting style against someone who's just, swinging and clubbing with raw rage.
I suppose. I mean, that's why technically, I mean, in the Incredible Hulk, he beats him the first time, and they got to send Hulk back out there.
Yeah, he does beat Hulk the first time, and then Hulk basically, I want to say almost
Hulk has
luckily
to use
beats him.
Hulk has to
Hulk
use
almost
weapons
killed
to
him.
beat Abomination. He has to use weapons.
Oh,
He doesn't beat him with his
he
fists.
uses the car, he uses the helicopter, he got
He
the chain around his throat.
Yep, he chokes him out with the chain.
But Abomination did the same thing.
Yeah, Geek is
So
right.
it was like a tit for tat. But what I'm saying is, like, you go that berserker and you're trying to rip dude's face off. Like, if I remember, you were trying to rip his head off with a chain, right? Like, he was trying to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that whole thing about Thanos having fucking tactical fighting style versus rage. I mean,
And remember, though, Thanos could use in the Infinity War, he could use the stones very tactically. And that was even shown when he fought
I'm
Captain
talking
Marvel.
about when they're on the Asgardian ship.
Yeah, he still
Yeah, he
had
wasn't
enough
using
stones
the
to be able to outpower the Hulk. Remember, he didn't have all the stones, but he had enough to be able to wield the different abilities. That was shown several times in the movie. Like he used the Mind Stone against that Quill to make him think that they were sneaking up on him when really he had, altered reality. I mean, he was very tactical with how he approached taking each of them out. It was shown that he was very smart.
And I mean, the way that they have Hulk set up is that he doesn't exclusively become stronger with more rage. I mean, in the Avengers, he falls into that building and turns back into Bruce Banner. He doesn't stay the Hulk and continue to be angry. He falls through and turns back into a man. So it's not exclusively he takes more punches, takes more hits, and gets more angry and stronger. That is not exclusively how it works.
That's how it worked in Age of Ultron. I mean, he was just blind rage in Age of Ultron. The more Tony went after him, the harder he fought back.
Yeah, I will give Geek in Disguise that was true. He did seem to get more and more angry, but then Tony did get the upper hand on him because Tony outthought him.
Well, he gassed him.
Yeah. That's
in Age of Ultron. He was also affected in his mind. He was affected by Scarlet Witch. It wasn't just, oh, I'm pissed off. It's, oh, I'm being essentially mind controlled and can't do what I want to do, or else he wouldn't have been attacking the Avengers.
Yeah,
this is the
problem with Hulk is he's so hard because of the way his character is set up in general. He's so hard. That's why it's hard for them to do a Hulk movie, because he's so hard to try to steer and direct with how his power is set up, and the whole rage thing is complicated to use in general, just like my theory with Thor.
I don't think he's a hard character, dude. What's so hard about a person who, even the slightest thing to sex that sets him off becoming the Hulk? I mean, they established that with Edward Norton's character.
I think Lee's point is he's hard to write in the sense of the only way that you can beat him is to not engage him and knock him out with gas. It's the only fucking way to do it, because if you make him more angry, you're only supposed to make him stronger. That's what we're supposed to believe, although that isn't necessarily how it works, because he's been beaten before by being punched in the face or by being dropped out of the sky. These are physical things that are done to him that make him turn back into a man.
Yeah, the whole thing is kind of really glitchy, even throughout the really good movies of how they handle him, in general.
I'm just gonna. Okay, PB, you're talking about when Hulk is suspended in that cage and then falls through.
Correct.
Yeah.
How high were they above? What altitude were they at? Do you know that for a fact?
I know that they were over 10,000 feet.
I think they were like 30,000 feet.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Okay,
they were
so-
a ways up there.
So what happened was is that if I'm going to put science behind this, I'm going to say it. If you're at 30,000 feet without a fucking air apparatus, what happened is that you basically go into a fucking uh, asphyxiation because you can't breathe. That's
Oh,
why
no,
Halo
yeah,
jumpers
that is true.
Halo
Because-
jumpers have to have fucking masks for that shit, dude.
Right.
Oh yeah, he's got a good
But-
point.
and
He
what-
could have that could have actually caused him to go unconscious, dropping.
Well, it did. If you don't remember correctly, he smashed in the earth. The dude was like, he just laid there for a little bit, and then you turned into the little dude. And
Oh yeah. The guy did say that with the more lines than he had than the Asian guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get on to another topic because this has been really annoying me, and I think we should all address this. And no, it's not Brie Larson. I'll get into that bag of worms in a little bit, but the thing that's been bugging me is, and I really wish people would stop doing this. This should not be compared to The Last Jedi. Sure, certain aspects might be reminiscent of what they did, but let's just get this out of the way and get facts down. This is not Rian Johnson, okay? Rian Johnson really screwed up on every level that film. I mean, that film was atrocious. Actually, from the beginning to the end, it declined further and further down the rabbit hole as that movie went. And I think it's a very unfair comparison to put those two movies together.
It's a ridiculous comparison.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I mean,
fine. We won't call it The Last Jedi. We'll call it The Force Awakens. It's the calm before the storm, before they put Captain Marvel in the next film with a bunch of Avengers, and then it goes downhill.
I can live with Force Awakens because I like the Force Awakens. I mean, I can more see the comparisons there than I can with Last Jedi, because Last Jedi was just atrocious on every level. I mean, it was so bad. I don't think that this necessarily wrecked the universe. I think that whatever they do afterwards is going to be the downfall and decline. But
Well,
I
that's what
don't
I'm saying. With Endgame having Captain Marvel, it's kind of like introducing Rey in that film. And then the next one.
Captain Marvel was like introducing Rey. Okay, Captain, you know how I feel about this. No, Captain Marvel was like introducing Rey. That was, I think the best way I described it was she was a hybrid car. She was part Mary Sue and part trying to develop a character, because when you look at that film from the beginning, it does kind of start off.
I didn't look at the film. You're the one who only did.
Oh my God. When you look at the film, when it first starts off, it does kind of try to make character development. It was really towards the ending when she went full Mary Sue. But there were things in place, because I call it the superhero theory, where there's always got to be some kind of safeguard. Superman, most powerful character ever, but kryptonite is his safeguard. Batman, he's human. That's the safeguard, so that a character doesn't become too overpowered. With her safeguard was that stupid Kree thingy. And then once that went off, then she went full SJW. That's just
Yeah, she went
how I
full
saw
Super
that.
Saiyan.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
basically,
why has no one called that? They directly ripped off Dragon Ball Z. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
so I will say this then. Brie Larson's Captain Marvel actually is not Rey, because at least Brie Larson had Captain Marvel have a backstory.
Exactly. We got.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, you can't see, and that's the whole thing. We can't really call this yet a Star Wars situation, because even in their messed up way with how they did this film, there were still things that made it a film and watchable, still developments, still storytelling in a sense. Some of the story didn't make sense, but it was still story nonetheless that kept us engaged. Whereas how many people have gone to see Last Jedi twice? I haven't seen it again since I saw it once in the theater. Never watched it again. It's been on Netflix.
That's me
Never-
too.
Yeah, never bothered to watch that movie again. Where Endgame, I'm already on time number 3, and I'll own it. I'll buy it, put it in my Marvel collection. I'll probably do a thing where I watch both Infinity War and Endgame together as a set and see if I could piece it together. But I think
Watch party, man. Let's do a watch
yeah,
party.
watch party. We'll do a watch party. We'll have all of us on there for that. But I think the problem with this film is that it's divisive in the sense that it's one of those weird movies where there's something about it that none of us can put our fingers on. Maybe it's the feeling that for me, it's and I talked about this with Hoth. I think it's the finality about it. I think it's the feeling that like what we were all saying. Disney was like, okay, here's your respect for these characters, but just to let you know, this is the direction we're going, and if you don't like it, too bad. I think someone who used the train, it was Chris Knight. He said it was like he was on this train ride. I don't know if you guys watched their stream.
I saw the stream.
Yeah, hey Mary, had to give a shout out. Sorry. It was like Chris put it the best. It was like you're on a train, right? Everything's going smooth. You're enjoying the ride. You're looking out the window. Everything is just hunky dory and grand. And then all of a sudden, boom, the brakes go on, and it's not a smooth stop. It's like they're trying to avoid hitting something. Yeah, so and that was the best analogy that I heard, because that when I thought about it again, I'm like, that is what it's like. It's not a smooth stop at the next station. It's more of a kicking on the brakes.
I'm going to have to add something to Chris's theory, because to me, it's like the train was getting robbed by a bunch of horseback cowboy outlaws, and here come them asking for all your money for something that you don't want to give out on a paid ticket you've already paid on the train ride.
That's fair enough. What do you think, PB?
Well, the point that I thought about when I was driving in the car earlier before this was after Infinity War, which is the movie that you can compare it to, what question did we all have? Like, what was everyone talking about? From my understanding, we were all only talking about, well, how are they going to rectify this? Because we know they're bringing characters back because they killed Black Panther and they killed Spider-Man. So we know that and Doctor Strange. Those 3 we knew were getting another movie, so we knew they were coming back. As far as I know, the only question after Infinity War was, how are they rectifying this? It wasn't, well, how did they do this scene? How did they do that scene? And that's the problem that we have with Endgame. There's way too many questions about individual things that happen in the movie. And then when we compare it to Infinity War, you're like, well, shit, we didn't have all these questions about Infinity War. It was just a story that went forward and essentially made sense. And that's why it's easily in the top 5 for most people's MCU movies. It's definitely in the top 10, whereas Endgame might be in the top 10. It might be just out of the top 10. I think that's the problem they have, is that they're like, hey, this is the end of the story, especially for Iron Man, but we're not going to answer all of your questions, and we're just going to kind of leave you in the lurch and just, figure it out on your own.
Geek in disguise, how do you feel about that?
Feel about what?
How do you feel? And welcome back to the conversation.
I'm just making sure I'm on topic here. I just want to make sure, double check. I don't want to just start talking and like next thing I'm.
How do you feel about? I made a comparison that Chris made where we had a smooth train ride, and then all of a sudden they slammed on the brakes. And PB brought up an excellent point where he said, Infinity War was a very linear story. We had a clear outline of the story, and then all of a sudden we get to Endgame, and it left us with more questions than answers.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions that need answers, and people are like, "Oh, read this book," or "Oh, read this, you'll get answers." I'm like, no, I shouldn't have to. The movie should explain it in itself. If I have to go read a book or a magazine or a comic book to get an answer, then it wasn't worth watching in the first place. And I feel that way. I feel like the train was just chugging along in Infinity War, and then all of a sudden Endgame starts and somebody slams on the brakes and the cars carrying behind it just and went careening off different directions because it was like that's how the story went. It just kind of you know how a train could, derails and then you just cars start breaking off. And I mean, because it had you going so many different ways with so many different plot points and characters and all this stuff that are all trying to come back to that engine. It's like, but there's no track to get back on with.
And I mean, if we want to go back to people that are comparing it to the frickin' Last Jedi, okay, let's do a direct comparison, 1 versus 1. And we'll do the scene where fucking your favorite Rose Tico slams into Finn and doesn't save a single fucking person at all besides Finn. Okay, let's compare that to when Black Widow falls off the cliff so that they can get the Soul Stone and they save the half of the fucking universe because they're able to bring them back. Slightly fucking different.
Exactly. That's why I didn't like the comparisons to Last Jedi, because at least some of the sacrifices that were made and some of those things that were done made narrative sense, which is the thing that makes this movie, I guess, for us even more frustrating, is the potential. I guess, in a sense, if I had to put in the word coming out a third time, talking with all of you people, being on all of these streams, and like really, like I sat in with a notepad taking notes. I'm like, yeah, this is out of place here. This is out of place. But the thing is, it's the thing that pisses me off is it's that old wasted potential. There's a lot of potential there. A lot of good things that work. It's just bogged down by the things that are glaringly obvious and don't work. And
when I was watching the movie and Black Widow falls and then they show her laying down there, it was emotional. But in the theater, there wasn't a whole lot of people there. I was at an earlier showing. I said out loud, "That's how you save what you love."
And exactly. I'll tell you what, I felt a lot more emotion when it happened to Gamora than I did Black Widow. For some odd reason, I don't know why. I think it just, I mean,
well, because that was the first time. Because that was the way that they set up Thanos excellently. For a while, we just thought he was a prick, but everything in that scene was so powerful.
Yeah.
Here you are, you're told that this guy is basically a universal dick, and and then we he's portrayed. And even when he comes to Earth, he's kind of seen as this guy who just wants to destroy things. But then they give us a very well-placed flashback. You see his connection to Gamora, and then the moment, the dialogue, and really that was a lot of facial expressions too, because at that moment when she says, "Ha, you won't get the stone," basically because you don't love nothing, and then she realizes when she looks in his eyes that, oh shit, he actually does love me. That was some powerful stuff.
Yeah.
See, that was powerful. And now going back through, I see your guys' points, because it's the little moments like that are kind of missing from this film. Not that it didn't have powerful moments, but it was those little things.
So go ahead, Lee. I got to ask you something when you're done.
Okay, it was those little things that made it good. Why I like, for me, that was the best death scene, and the reason why was not only because Scarlett Johansson is my fifth wife, but also that it was well done, because when Clint shot that arrow and knocked her down, I thought for sure he was going to get that jump, and I was actually kind of happy because I hate Hawkeye. And the way
I like Hawkeye, and I thought he was going over. I was like, oh yeah. I thought when he was going to shoot the arrow, I didn't think it was going to be an explosive one. I thought he was going to shoot her in the leg or something to knock her down, and then it exploded. I was like, oh fuck, man, he's going over this cliff. He's going to sprint and be gone.
Yep,
And then
yep.
And he
she
and
catches
he
him.
did. And he
And
did.
that
And
was-
then she jumped after him and hit that bolt that just caught him. And then
Yep.
it was
attached the
almost
frickin'
too
cable to him.
it was almost too cliffhanger for me. Like if you remember Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone and the chick he was trying to hold on to, and then she slipped, and it was a very cliffhanger moment, between them two where she just kicks off. But in this case, she kicked off. But it's yes, we know the whole. They've alluded to it before. I can't remember right off the top of my head. Whatever mission they were on, they kept talking about. They talked about it in Endgame again. They talked about it in Avengers. The place Budapest or whatever.
Oh, Budapest, yeah.
They keep alluding to it, but yet we still have no idea what the hell that was all about.
Right, well, I assume if they're still gonna do a Black Widow movie, that's what they're gonna focus on is this Budapest mission.
I would hope so, because it would add some clarification as to what's going on and why it's so
And why
emotional
they
between
are
the two. And
exactly.
because until we find out, that moment doesn't mean anything other than it's just words that are being spoken. Like
Right, like it's
we
to
just
do it
know
to
she has
something that
Redditor
was
Ledger and
alluded
she's trying to wipe
like,
it out.
it's like the Nick Fury eye thing. We thought it was something awesome for years and years and years, and then it was a fucking cat.
Okay, so Prime Geek, what did you want to ask?
Okay, so this is what me and PB were talking about last night after you left, Lee. And this is something that I brought up and then we kind of dwelled into. So that moment that Thanos is about to push Gamora off, right? And you see that's the only time you see Thanos actually have any sense of remorse or grief or anything that he wishes that he hadn't done. We were talking about how Doctor Strange was sitting there having those, basically those 14 million results. And we were like, so if you remember Doctor Strange, how he held Dormammu into a basically time vortex where he couldn't do what he wanted to do because every time he tried to do it, they would just keep going into basically a time loop, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what we were talking about last night was if Doctor Strange was able to see the future in some aspect and was able to basically, because from what I understand, Doctor Strange is able to make a vortex in time space with his magic and basically show up at any time or any place. So we were talking about how come Doctor Strange didn't go to that place where the Soul Stone was at right as he pushes Gamora off, and he loops it right then and there, where he's basically tormenting Thanos
Because
every time.
they explained that in the Doctor Strange movie. That thing that was coming was that was a product of something that the Warlock world had caused. But his only role, no matter what he sees, unless it's like a mystical threat, he doesn't directly interfere in it. He feels like the world has to balance itself out. Because if they start doing that, it's kind of like the Jedi theory is the easiest way to explain it, or what the Jedi are supposed to be. They don't directly intercede in combat unless, dark side or something like that. They're the same way. They don't directly interfere unless it's something mystical that is limited by humans, which is why he kind of got involved with Thanos, but wouldn't go all the way, because when he was going through his predictions, he saw it was something that they could stop and that magic was not needed, because magic also has consequences too, which they explained in Doctor Strange as well. Everything he casts and everything he does, it's called the threefold law, that basically everything they do comes back threefold. So if he changes something, then it changes 3 times over, which is why they're very leery with the spells that they cast. That's why you always
apparently
see
the
use that
time travel
spinning
law,
thing.
that's not the same outcome, because apparently
No, time travel is considered science. It's not magic.
okay,
Two
now I'm
different
even more
things.
confused.
Science
that's
and
what we're
magic are not
saying.
considered the same in the Marvel universe. They've explained that too. That's why
if you're using the time stone to create a time loop, that constitutes using magic, but if you're just using a time machine to create a time loop, then that's science?
Yes, because it's man-made. Magic is mystical.
But if the
And all
magic,
of the stones are mystical.
oh god, because if doing that causes a 3-timefold thing, then how do you know that when Tony Stark did what he did with the gauntlet, it didn't cause some adverse effect with that?
Because the stones are mystical, but the device they used is man-made. It's a whole thing. It's
Well, I mean, technically, we don't know what the
and
total
technically,
after
yeah, we
effects
don't
are
know what
from
the
it
effect is.
because we know what the first after effect was. It killed Iron Man. Like, Iron Man isn't as strong as a physical being as Thanos, and at the beginning of the movie, when Thanos used the glove for the second time, he is almost turned into a cripple. Like, he's limping around, he can barely lift his arm up. He's a shell of himself after he uses it a second time. And even when Hulk uses it, he gets all fucked up from it too.
Well, I mean, it takes a certain type of person to wield the damn stones, man. I mean, you might get away with it once, but like multiple uses will just fry you, turn you into
Right.
And
so
that's
I would bet
remember,
if,
that's why the stones were hidden, because of that fact that anyone who was powerful enough to put them all together and actually use them, A, is pretty crazy, and B, you really don't know. See, and this is the problem with Endgame too, now that I circled back around and I watched it again with my more critical lenses, is that it's good for what it was as far as tying up certain things. But like PB was saying, okay, now there's a bunch of new questions, and how are they going to handle them going forward? You're going to have different movies and stuff like that. Are we going to see the results? Like, you got Black Panther who's going to get a movie. You got, you know what I mean, Guardians, all of that. And how are they going to handle the aftermath of what Infinity War and Endgame had introduced? Because if they're going with this notion that there's consequences, are we going to see those consequences in the various movies, or are they just going to disregard them and you know, section it off like they did Star Wars?
God, I hope it's not like Star Wars. I mean, as it sits right now, I don't necessarily care about what happens going forward, and the only movie that I want to see is the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Yes. Oh,
Because when he said that out loud on the ship, I was like, "Son of a bitch, that's a great name, you bastards."
I would mean to ask you, Geek in Disguise, what do you think about the Asgardians of the Galaxy? Are you down for the adventures of the Asgardians?
Oh, is he there? Because this is a great question for him, because I know he's said on multiple occasions that
I'm here.
Oh,
he's
he's there.
not. Oh, here we go.
Well, on multiple occasions, what?
You said that your series that you're into is the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
your
that's
Star
that's
Wars.
my jam.
Okay, did you hear Lee's question?
I mean, yeah, it was funny when he said it, but it doesn't make much sense because only one of them's an Asgardian. So how can it be the Asgardians of the galaxy if only one of them's an Asgardian?
Well, I mean, it was. I don't think Lee's asking you necessarily how you felt just about the line. He wants to know how you feel about that group of characters moving forward in their own movie.
Oh, see, Jerry said something earlier about Gamora, Zoe Saldana, and I mean, I've known since she was done in Infinity War that she probably won't be coming back at all in any capacity because she's been filming Avatar 2, 3, and 4. If I remember correctly, Guardians 3 was supposed to start filming this year and come out June of next year, I think. That's why Wonder Woman took that spot when they moved it. And James Gunn had clarified that Guardians 3 was the breakup of the team as we knew them. And, I was always feeling that that was over Gamora's death because it would just cause a fracture between the team. And you know how Star-Lord is. He's a very emotional character. So, I mean,
There's one sandwich away
even
from fat.
then, I was just kind of like not really interested as much as I probably should have been because, I mean, we've seen so far their journey now. And I mean, it's like, where else can they go? You know, other than just another space mission. Like, in the grand scheme of things, now, if it had involved like Adam Warlock, perhaps, but even they said that, you know, James Gunn said that he had no intention of using Adam Warlock anytime soon, especially in Guardians 3. Because I only think that Adam Warlock would be a key prime character to bring in, especially in the aftermath after Infinity War, to assemble the Infinity Watch with Gamora, Drax, or whoever, and protect the stones. And then kind of after Guardians 3, create another franchise, cosmic side. I don't know, because they've done a lot of damage to like Drax and stuff, especially in Volume 2. I mean, Rocket's still Rocket. Groot
he's the
needs
best one.
to.
Well, I think he'll, if you know,
Groot
depending
needs
on
to
how many
really
years they go,
improve.
he'll be an adult by the next one.
Which means they'll bring back Vin
Hopefully.
Diesel.
I mean, I just, I don't know if I want to see Thor palling around with them. I don't know if I want that to be the new team. I mean, that's kind of really disappointed with how they did Thor in Endgame. Not really somebody I want to stare at if he's going to stay that particular way. I mean,
Well, you don't want to see the Big Lebowski in space?
Well,
no,
he'll get back into shape because he's got to compete with Star-Lord now. He won't stay fat.
Hey,
But,
man, that's just
I
like
would
your
hope so.
opinion.
How did you feel about the his arc in Infinity War when he went off with Rocket and Groot?
I like that
didn't-
because it was a smaller group, and it wasn't just like they just went on a specific mission to go get the new weapon and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was a smaller group to focus on as opposed to now you're sharing a bunch of screen time among all these characters. And I mean, yeah, he's essentially replacing Gamora if you look at it as far as like count wise for the team.
Right.
I really don't want another movie of him and Star-Lord constantly trying to one up each other. I mean, that banter gets old really quick.
Oh,
I mean, they played it to
going
death
to
in
be
that end scene
supernatural
alone.
in space now. Lovely.
I mean, look at the end scene in Endgame alone, where it was like 4 minutes of just, oh, you're the leader, but not really. I'm the leader. You know, kind of back and forth. I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear this. We heard enough of that.
I'm a
with
dick.
Star-Lord
You
and
have
Rocket.
terrible music choices. Get me a beer.
No, yeah, that scene went on about one paragraph too long.
And now
And-
here,
Go ahead.
and now here's the thing, because I kind of wanted to piggyback off of Geek in Disguise. The more that I think about it, the more that I rewatch it, the more that I look at the movie as a whole. Here's the problem that Endgame created. By putting finality on certain things, they've created continuity issues going forward, because adventures that you cared about seeing, Endgame really did feel like the end game, where it's like, well, okay, now why do I care? Why do I care about the Guardians of the Galaxy anymore? Because their whole thing was the quest for the stones and balancing things out and getting ready for Thanos. But what are they getting ready for now? Is it just wacky adventures? Who really wants to pay money to see a bunch of wacky adventures, which you could do on like a show? The thing with, and the characters who should have had intriguing things going forward to keep the interest going were killed. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it and said, oh crap, yeah, people do have some valid points here. I was looking at it like, at first, I was looking at it like, oh, I got finality to this. And now I'm looking at it like, but what
Justice
does that
League is
leave
terrible.
me?
You tried to start that fight again last night.
Oh shit! Sorry, I don't know where to
Wait.
go.
What? You just pissed him off.
No, he dropped out. He dropped out before. That's why I said that.
Oh, damn. I was looking at YouTube videos right quick just to see what your views were on that video you posted, PB, and then I didn't see that. Damn.
No, I saw him
So,
drop out.
Prime, out of all of us, you are the only crazy person who's been spoiled to death and not
Hey,
probably have seen the whole movie without seeing it.
that's what I
And-
wanted, man, because then I don't have to pay a dime to Disney, man.
No, I'd still say it's worth
Yep.
the watch just to see it, but
I
mean,
will when
free.
it comes out on Redbox. $1 I can do. $15 a ticket plus concession. Nah, I can't do that.
Dag, what theater are you going to?
We have
For
Carousel
3D?
Theaters. We have Carousel Theater in Burlington. It's 15 for an adult. We have AMC theaters at South Point. It's like $14.50 for an adult.
Hey, PV,
Yeah.
over in Wisconsin, we were bitching about $10.50. I guess we got it good.
Yeah, I mean it's not super expensive in Wisconsin. I had to pay for apparently when I got my tickets online, and I didn't notice it until like after I was
It's
at
the
the
it's the
pay
taxes that kill us here.
It was there was a $3.50 fee for getting it reserved tickets online. I was like, what the hell, man?
And now this
And
is my problem here is which Prime you give a good point now, and I wanted to bring up because I didn't get a chance to bring up on other people's live streams. Do we feel like this was worth the ticket? I can't speak on this because I see it for free, so it doesn't affect me. But
I thought,
now,
you saw it for free when you went down to Watertown too?
I haven't gone to Watertown yet because that's about like freaking 45 minutes away from me, and I don't feel like driving that far on a day where I
Okay.
have to work 2 jobs.
I just
so.
remember us talking about, you said you had a friend down there that said he saw a different end credit scene than just the hammer banging.
Yeah, I would have to actually pay for that. So.
Okay. Yeah, so screw that. I mean, okay, I paid for my ticket and my wife's ticket to go see the movie. And I definitely say that it's worth it to go and see it in the theater one time. But I'm a person who enjoys seeing a 3D movie. But I was slightly disappointed in the way that they used the 3D effects. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff flying at you on the screen.
Yeah.
Like when Falcon or Valkyrie were flying, it's like, okay, why don't you tilt the camera 90 degrees so they're coming at me for 2-3 seconds? The same way as when Force Awakens came out. It's not the greatest Star Wars movie, that is for sure. But like I tell everybody, I got what I wanted out of that movie because I got to be in the TIE fighter flying through the explosions as they were doing the Falcon chase scene. And I never had got to do that before because they weren't making 3D movies when frickin' Revenge of the Sith came out.
Oh my God!
So-
Imagine Revenge of the Sith in 3D.
Oh, it would have. Oh man, yeah, they need to re-release that in the theater in 3D. How much money would they make off of that?
Lucas was going to re-release everything in 3D. That was the whole point when they did the Phantom Menace in 3D back in 2011. He was going to be putting everything out on 3D, including the original trilogy.
Oh my God!
So
That would
yeah,
have been
for
amazing.
Endgame, I would say it's definitely worth. I mean, depending on where you live and how expensive it is, going to see it one time in the theater. And if you feel like you really need to go back because shit don't make sense to you and you don't have people on the internet to talk to about it, then I guess go again. But any more than that, I feel like you're shilling for Disney.
Or you get in for free.
Right. I mean, if you can get in for free, yeah. If I was getting in for free, I'd probably see it, 4, 5, 6 times in the theater. If I had the time to do it, for sure. Because I think it's a good movie. It's not a great movie. It's a good movie.
And now here's the weird thing about this film, and that actually brings me to my next point, is that it's so weird how it has the attractability for us to all see it multiple times, but yet there's just something we can't put our finger on where it falls short. And I've had this problem has been since 2018. I've seen a lot of movies where
I can give you one example of ways that you are semi-satisfied, but it fell short. And right at the end with Captain America, when they cut to whatever year it is, I assume it's in the 40s, I guess, when he crashed the plane and was supposed to show up at the dance or whatever, right? Okay. So when they do that scene, they're just dancing in her house or apartment or whatever. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm happy for him because he got to do this. But what I wanted was for him to just show up at the dance and her be like, what the hell? I thought you crashed the plane. And then they could just, you don't have to show that of them saying these things, but just cut to being in the hall with everybody there and them dancing. But I suppose that would fuck with their story. But that's what I wanted to see. Those are the things that they do where you're satisfied, but it falls short because it's not what you were expecting.
I can tell you the date right now when he crashed that plane.
Okay.
Because if you watch the first Avenger, you'll notice that they're already in Europe, and America really didn't enter Europe until after D-Day. So D-Day was around like after June of 1944. So you're talking about possibly maybe I want to say fall of World War II is when he crashed the plane. Because it wasn't until next year that Germany fell. So,
and here's the thing. I'm seeing a lot of scores. Thomas is still going 9.5 out of 10 or a straight 10, which Thomas, buddy, I kind of mirror that my MCU side, but as an objective critic, I've got to go lower and be more around Mary and PB. I actually went lower than your guys' score now, and I went to 7.
I was surprised when you said that. I was like, holy crap, he dropped it lower than me because I feel like I will be able to stay right at a 7.5.
I dropped it at a 7 because when I started taking notes, and I still have them on my notepad somewhere around here. When I started taking notes and pulling things, once I critique things and I get into my critiquing mode, I'm very brutal. And I turned off my fanboy completely, and I got into the basis of storytelling. Now, most people don't know, but I went to college, and when I went to college, I went for mass media communications, and that was a useless degree. Don't ever do it if you're thinking about doing it, because the media is a bunch of corrupt assholes, as we all know. So that was basically tissue paper. But one thing that I did learn was I took a bunch of creative writing courses, and I did very well. I was published a couple of times for poems and short stories. And I started looking at it from the fundamentals of writing and from the basis of storytelling. And when I looked at it through that lens and was able to be a little bit more critical, I started seeing a lot of the problems that people were telling me. Now, I didn't want to. It hurts me in my heart and soul. But this is the problem. And I said when I created this channel, I'm not going to be the typical person who's just going to jump on a bandwagon. I'm going to look at it as a very objective person, and then I'm going to base my decision. And it's easy to come out of a movie when you first see it hyped and say it's the greatest thing. The hardest thing to do, though, is to go back through and actually pick it apart and see if it is a good film. Now, you can pick apart any film and find flaws. That isn't the question. The question is, when you pick it apart at the end of it, does it all come together and still have a cohesive story? And unfortunately, for me, this did not. It was beautiful. It was artistic. People did have arcs, maybe not the way that some people wanted to or not, but fundamentally, story-wise, and if we're looking at it going forward, it did kind of leave things to be desired. Okay, so when you tell a story, and if we're counting this as a whole story, like from Infinity War being the beginning point and End War being the end point, then the question should be, through the span of both movies, does this finish that story? And if you finish a story, there should be no questions left unless you're setting up for another story. Now, taking comic books out of this is supposed to be self-contained movies. Now, as two movies that are supposed to be self-contained but the same story, does it give us a beginning, middle, and end? Well, it gives us a beginning, it gives us a middle, and then the end gives us more questions. Therefore, it's not an ending. Therefore, in a sense, the story is not really over. There's a question with the time travel. There's a question with what happens going forward. That nothing is really, in a sense, wrapped up.
And there's a question where Gamora is.
And Gamora's just kind of thrown in there just because people would have been like, well, where's Gamora? And the way they did that was kind of lazy too.
Well, I mean,
I've heard different conflicting stories. Actually, I went online and they're saying now she wasn't it. So I don't know. Kind of weird to me.
it's very weird.
Well, I did the research, and I was talking with PB last night, and this is the part that I'm trying to figure out. And Lee, I'm going to get into some depths with you about this. Okay, so when you look at Infinity War and Endgame, they were being shot simultaneously on the same budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they were split up during film, which means I don't know how they're going to do this with Endgame, because like with two films being shot simultaneously and having the same budget, one of them is going to have to be what's the word I'm looking for? One of them's going to have to take the brunt of the budget, and the other one's going to be lackluster. So
exactly, I agree with that.
So I'm just curious which movie is going to have the biggest budget, because if it ends up the Endgame has the smallest, then it's going to also make it look like it's going to profit more. If it does make $3 billion.
The number that I came up with last night after you left when we were talking about this, I was like, so yeah, they could have, I rounded it way up. I was like, so they made both of these movies for $1 billion. So they, after they, everyone takes a cut on Infinity War, they made $500 million on Infinity War. And then the budget for Endgame was 50 cents. $3 billion. So they'll net $3 billion, and it'll always be the biggest moneymaker of all time because it will have been made on essentially zero budget.
Now, if that winds up being the case, then it kind of then becomes, wow, I didn't even think about that. Then it kind of becomes a slap in the face because they essentially gave us the best one first and made money and gave us the worst product last. That would be really crappy.
Yeah, because the way that I have it ranked as Avengers movies, I mean, this is the worst Avengers movie of the four of them.
So because you and me talked, and I even put Age of Ultron above the original Avengers.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to give you guys room to talk. But
no, that's all I had.
For the next sentence I had after that was because of the movies being shot at the same time. Basically, this is my whole point with them doing this, with people talking about where's Gamora, because this is a big debate that me and PB had after we saw the Chris Pratt video. Because essentially, if they shot the ending battle, which they had to put Captain Marvel, shoehorned her in, that would mean that Endgame did not have Zoe Saldana. It would just mean that the previous shots that they had shot together with the combined budget of last year, when they were filming both movies, they edited in her last parts into Endgame with the new parts that they shot.
And then they re-edited her because some of them, when I went back through and I looked, those were Zoe Zidane in some of those scenes.
But they already had pre-shot scenes for Endgame,
which could have been clipped in, and then they give her the credits, and then probably someone saw PB's videos, and now I saw 50 articles saying Zoe Zidane was in it. And remember last night when we pulled up the filmograph, I went back through and it had Endgame in there, and I go, I'm not a conspiracy theorist here, but PB, I think they're watching you, man. Because all of a sudden, when I Googled it again, all of this stuff said her on the red carpet, blah, 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 blah. But when we looked last night, we're not crazy. All three of us were Googling and saw nothing. I didn't see an article, nothing.
I mean, in the video that I made, which I posted in the chat,
he showed Google. I
showed Google. I searched Zoe Saldana and I clicked on the movie tabs and I scroll from the top to the bottom. And as I'm going through it, I say, okay, well, here's Guardians of the Galaxy, here's Infinity War, here's Guardians 2, here's all the Star Treks, here's Avatar. Oh, here's Avatar 2, 2020. Go down a little bit. Ooh, Avatar 3, 2021. So it must be up to date. And then I scroll a little more and I was like, well, this is getting a little weird. And then I got to the bottom and I was like, so where the hell is Endgame? Why is that not here? And then I scrolled back to the top and I was like, yeah, it's nowhere.
And then did you look at
list.
It this morning? Because I, out of curiosity, looked at it and then all of a sudden it was on there. And then there was pictures of her on the Endgame carpet and stuff like that. But when we looked last night, I didn't see nothing on the news feeds or nothing. That is weird.
Wow. That's hilarious.
I mean, am I crazy here, Prime? Because I know you did the same.
No, I just researched Zoe Saldana again and clicked on movies. I'm not seeing Endgame.
Yeah, it's under. It's there. I looked. I went to Google.
Unless my cache needs to be, because sometimes like old information gets stored on your phone, and then you got to clear that cache out.
Well, let's do that. Clear the cache.
Yeah, because I was less like, because then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, Disney's watching.
I'll take the views.
I Disney's like, oh my God, look at this YouTuber's video. Quick, guys, load the internet up. Because then, no, I was watching the red carpet because Mecha Random did it on purpose for Brie Larson, making fun of her. And I was watching those. And then all of a sudden, I swear to God, the first clip was just Brie Larson with the Thanos thing. And then now I looked back and it goes, oh, Zoe Saldana on with cast for Endgame, her red carpet thing. And she was in a blue dress or something. And I was like, wait, this wasn't on here before. She was not in any pictures. It was just the other Avengers and Brie Larson. There was nothing on her. And then all of a sudden, you can see all of the stuff.
Yeah, because I remember when they did the premiere, everybody was talking about how Scarlett Johansson looked very old and her tits were sagging. that's
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch that too. Who here thought...
Yeah, I would touch them.
Who here thought, and I was actually inspired because of Mary's video, because Black Widow is one of my favorite characters since her introduction in Iron Man. I thought that the way they introduced her was very cool. It wasn't forced at all, and it
was awesome.
It was yeah, that hallway scene. Oh my God. But who here thought that too, for me, especially the third time around, that scene just pissed me off. Who thought that like her send off was so disrespectful? Like that character was so screwed over in this deal.
That after she dies, you get for her memorial for the entire movie is the 5 seconds that Clint gets to be on top of the frickin' cliff and look down at her being dead, because then you just wake up in that water or whatever the hell it is, and then they're like, oh, he's got the stone, and then they cut to the next scene, and then the only time that they talk about her later is when he's talking to Scarlet Witch next to the freaking river, and that's it. Right? They
Dude.
don't talk about her at any point in between.
Yeah, and then the river. Yeah, where they're like, oh, they're both looking down on you because I expressed my anger with that. It was like, so the only thing we get is that generic Hallmark, oh, they're gone, but they're looking down at us. First of all, they've done that shit 1,000 times. And secondly, why do we get that? And don't get me wrong, I understand that Iron Man is a Hallmark character. He deserved, that was a very beautiful send off. I still got emotional. It was very good. But and you know, Captain America got the good treatment, but why such a marquee character? Did they feel the need to be like yeah, you know, she gets the generic, oh, she'll always be watching us. She was there since the beginning. Everyone who was there since the beginning should have got something. And you know what? I had a theory about it. My theory was because she was beefing very openly with Brie Larson. I think that she, and I know Prime's going to laugh about this, but this is just how I feel, and it's kind of suspicious. I think that she got shafted because she was putting Queen Brie in her place, and they were like, well, you know, if you feel that way, here you go. You're going to fall off a cliff, and then we're not going to mention you. So, ha. That's just my feelings on it. I think that every female that was already established got screwed over for Brie Larson's character. That part really ticked me off this third time around because I was taking notes on it. And I was looking and I was like, yeah, Scarlet.
but then the ones who did like Brie Larson got
Yeah.
shafted into a good position, like Valkyrie's now the Queen of Asgard.
Exactly. I mean, am I crazy, PB? Because look at the people who got elevated. They're all part of the Brie army, right? The people who got elevated, and then the people who had a problem: Scarlet Witch and Black Widow. The you know, I don't know the actress for Scarlet Witch, but I know, you know,
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, they for some reason got the most minimal screen time. And, you know, the only one that got any good thing was Scarlet Witch with the Battle of Thanos.
Yeah, she got one moment, and that was it, and it lasted what, 5 seconds?
Yeah, and she wasn't even really a big factor. It was just like, whoa, look what she can do, and then she's off screen.
My dogs are barking because they're a bunch of assholes.
Let the dogs out. Ooh. Sorry.
But I mean, and it could just be a crazy theory, but I honestly, that was the other thing. Okay, now getting to my favorite subject, Captain Marvel.
But hold on 1 second. I just searched Evangeline Lilly on Google and clicked on the movies and TV shows, and the top 3 on the list are Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man, and Endgame. But when I searched Elizabeth Olsen on Google, she was also not credited for being in Endgame, at least on the list.
Yeah, and I did Zoe Saldana, and I cleared my cache out again, and it still doesn't have her updated with that. I sent you a screen pic.
The first one for Elizabeth Olsen is Infinity War, and then it goes Age of Ultron, and then it goes Civil War, and then like Wind River, and a bunch of movies that I'd never freaking seen before. Godzilla.
Oh yeah, Godzilla was great.
Yep, but it doesn't have Endgame under her name either. Like, what the hell's going on? Wouldn't you want the credit for being in the biggest movie ever?
This is the thing that mystifies me. I feel like a lot of the females came out and were openly against Brie Larson, and the top ones were, which I didn't even realize, but I did look it up. Zoe Saldana had issues with Brie Larson. Scarlett Johansson had issues with Brie Larson.
Yeah, all I had to do is put the letter B in Google, and the first thing that pops up is Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And people say to me, well, Lee, why do you have hour-long rants? Why does this bother you? Because I see this disgusting trend happening. Everyone who sides with Brie, everyone who's on her side, and it's very now evident in this movie, seems to be getting good positions, and the people who even say a word against her, they fall off of a cliff and then they don't get a memorial. So, it,
oh
Yeah.
my god!
it's
Dude,
like,
Brie rant, go.
Hang on for a second. PB, look up Avengers Endgame and press cast.
Okay. Is this going to blow my mind or not?
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay.
All right, you see the cast?
Yep, I see the top three. She goes Chris Evans, Brie Larson, and then Robert Downey Jr.
Oh
Why
my
the fuck is it in
God.
that order?
Yeah. Then it goes Scarlett Johansson, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Tom Harland, Jeremy Renner, Josh Brolin, Karen Gillian, Paul Rudd, Sebastian Stan, Chris Pratt, Bradley Cooper, Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Hiddleston, Gwyneth Paltrow, Evangeline Lilly, Catherine Langford, Don Cheadle, Danai Gurira, John Favreau, Vin Diesel,
I
Anthony
need to make
Mackie,
another video.
Ty Simpkins, Michelle Pfeiffer, Benedict Wong, Tilda Swinton, Ahiro Haga, and Carrie Coon. Guess who's not listed?
Elizabeth Olsen
And Zoe Saldana.
Zoe Saldana.
This is the thing that I've been saying this. I've been
Google?
saying this since Captain Marvel. I said there's video proof. Since my first freaking Brie rant, I said that since Brie Larson is the Trojan horse, I said once she infects the MCU, it was a downward spiral. I said the thing that made me nervous about Endgame was this right here. And this is the end. This is the beginning of the end for the MCU universe. But this is truly this is the end. And this bitch is riding the freaking fifth horseman of death into our franchise. She's riding it, and she's got the little scythe, and she's going to kill the rest of the MCU. When I looked it up and they said that she's directing a movie, every fear I've ever had been realized in that moment. And I had flashbacks
to
of the unicorn
to answer your
story.
question, the founders of Google and the major shareholders of Google are Larry Page and Sergey Brin.
Who the fuck is that?
Well, let's see. Larry Page.
I'm just. I mean, how connected is Disney
to Google,
Google and YouTube?
Well, let's see. I want to see what happens when we put in Google and Disney, because if something comes up, you know it's gonna come up.
Because holy shit, I was not expecting to find that under the cast list.
Oh, here we go. Google and Disney announced huge ad partnership December 3rd, 2018.
Because I would say that when you get to the bottom of this cast list and you're seeing who's right at the bottom here.
The Ancient One actor.
Coon. Who the hell's Carrie Coon? I don't even know who that is. What character does she play?
This is the things that started surfacing for me on my third watch. But before I get into my rant, I want to give a shout out to the chat. So, hey T, Fandom, Grove, and Ancient One, thank you for joining us. We are talking about that the Endgame, and I was giving my review. In case you didn't know, it was a high 10, but it has recently plummeted to a hard 7. That is my
They don't have
objective
Samuel
review.
L. Jackson on this list either.
Or shit. Who's the I forget her name. The one who plays Maria Hill.
Kobe Smulders.
She's not on there either.
Not that I see.
And like now, this is my issue that I had with Captain Marvel that everyone couldn't understand, that I was debating with seems like an endless amount of people at the cinema. Captain Marvel was the beginning of the end, but really this whole thing has been starting slowly with it happened on the Star Wars side, and I thought that MCU was immune to it, but now this thing has been like wildfire. It's been in the MCU. You're seeing it in video games with the whole Mortal Kombat debacle, which I had happy news about that. Just a really quick side note that their sales dropped 25% from when they released the last year's Mortal Kombat. So I hope that plummets to the bottom, because guys want to see fully clothed women. Good move, WB.
Right, as Shellback said, you need the jiggle physics.
Yep. They got rid of jiggle physics. That game's going downhill. And now we're seeing it here in the Marvel universe, and it feels like
I thought was great when Scarlet Witch came back. I was like so happy that she still had her regular uniform where it's got the low cut top.
And then they killed her, and it was almost like a statement, like, yeah, everything you expect, even low cut tops, they're all dying in this one. It's all going away.
I'm trying to look at the cast right here for Infinity War. Hang on.
And now while you're doing that, this is the problem that we're gonna have with Endgame.
Dude, Elizabeth Olsen is listed as in the second row of the second cast. Like, it goes Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Elizabeth Olsen, Tom Holland, Benedict Cumberbatch, Chris Pratt, Josh Brolin, Paul Bettany, Sebastian Stan, Chadwick Boseman wasn't even listed on there on the cast.
Yeah, just to address someone in the chat,
or Dave Bautista.
And we know he's super woke, so why isn't he on the list? What's wrong? So Google is broke?
Anthony Mackie, Falcon, wasn't listed either.
Now they're just racist.
Or Stan Lee, because dude, they forgot Stan Lee, because they got Stan Lee here as a cameo in Infinity War as the bus driver.
Like, you clicked on the cast for Infinity War?
It just keeps going, man.
It's massive for Infinity War, right?
Yeah.
But yet, with all the people you had in Endgame, the cast list seems really small.
Real small.
Yeah, for an epic giant battle scene.
I mean, they even have fucking Peter Dinklage in here because he plays the fucking giant. Well,
man, I love that. I love that part in the movie. I was like, thank you for taking the smallest actor you could find and making him literally the biggest character, outside of Ant-Man going big. I loved it.
So, yeah, and this is...
So Google's broken. That's the headline. Google is broken. That on, yeah, but I'll put that on YouTube, and they'll be like, "No, that's you can't post that. That's not appropriate. That's hate speech."
So, all right. So, my next question, as far as going back to
before you say
Endgame,
this question, one line I have to say: Justice League sucked. Continue.
Poor Geek. Poor Geek.
Somewhere Geek is watching this going, those sons of a.
Either that or he's chain smoking.
Now, here's the thing that I posed last time, and I want to say again: who here is feeling like maybe DC might be the ship to jump to?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is quite a question to pose at this point, especially what the next DC movie. I didn't see Shazam yet, which I know. What rating did you give Shazam? You gave it a 9?
I gave it a 9. Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't the next movie in DC 1984 Wonder Woman?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have
Go
not
ahead,
been hearing
Brian.
good things on that on my forum because I have a bunch of people do the same thing that we do and they do research. And yeah, I heard it's supposed to be woke as hell.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh
Well,
God. Well, I
Shazam wasn't
mean,
woke.
but
I thought they were. Are they not using the same director and writers as they had for the first Wonder Woman?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
well, here's the thing. If you look at what Ethan Van Sciver was saying before he left DC, yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Oh, we're talking the people at the head of DC are starting to control the movies more, then yeah, I could see
Yeah,
them
because
starting to go
look what
woke.
just happened in DC Universe. They can't even get their shit off the ground even with that. And Swamp Thing actually looks good.
Because I mean, they don't have the advantage of having built the base where they can just instantly go woke, where the MCU did with Captain Marvel and be like, "Hey, we're gonna go from Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which are essentially regular movies that aren't forcing an agenda, they're just telling a story, to here's a fucking agenda movie."
Well, from what I was told about the whole thing about 1984 Wonder Woman is basically the bad guy is supposed to be a Donald Trump esque person. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Okay, well, let's say that let's just go with how it has or how it's sitting right now. Is that the train to jump to compared to the MCU? I would lean towards yes, because freaking Iron Man is dead and he was my favorite. He is the magnet that makes the MCU run, because I would say half of the people that like Captain America usually say that Civil War is the best. The other half say Winter Soldier is the best. And I say that Civil War is an Iron Man movie. And that's why it's so great. It's not just a Captain America movie.
And I lean towards Winter Soldier because when it was iconic where Captain America threw the shield and Bucky catches it and just looks over the shield. That moment was beautiful.
I'm just going to say this: if we're talking about jumping ship, Batman is basically the Iron Man of the DC universe, and with Batfleck gone, it's up for debate right now.
Well, I mean, I wasn't really on board with Batfleck in the first place. I mean,
yeah, but with him being part of the whole Justice League, Batman versus Superman, and they introduced Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in Batman versus Superman, it's like
you're thinking it's going to be hard for people to accept that, hey, this is the same Batman, even though it's a different actor.
Yeah, it's just going to be like it's going to be like how Tim Burton's Vision went from Michael Keaton, and then we got shoehorned in with Val Kilmer, and then George Clooney just basically derailed the whole entire franchise.
Dude, that right. George Clooney took years to recover from.
Bat nips.
I was like, why are you making a live action cartoon Batman?
I mean, I have been saying this for years that if DC wants me to get back on board with anything, get Scott Eastwood to be Terry McGinnis and bring back Keaton as Old Man Bruce. Make Batman Beyond.
That would be good. I'd like that. I mean, I watched all of that freaking cartoon, that's for sure. That was a great cartoon.
Now, here's the issue that DC has. If you guys watched the DC like cartoons, they're actually good. Some of them I would put them over actual movies because they're so good. Like
Young Justice.
the Young Justice, but the like they did a Constantine movie cartoon that was phenomenal. It was like R rated.
Oh, you're talking about their cartoon films.
Their cartoon films are on the ball. Story
Okay.
wise, art. I mean, that I don't understand how DC can't translate that into live action. It's like you look at their cartoon roster versus Marvel, and they're destroying them. I mean, their cartoon movies destroy anything that Marvel put out cartoon or movie wise, except for maybe a couple of Punisher ones. But they have nothing there. But then you look at live action, and it's like, why can't they get that translated to live action? And that's the problem that they have in my mind. Is like they just
like you mean the whole Titans compared to Teen Titans.
Yeah, that kind of a deal. And don't get me wrong, I have the DC universe. I did like Titans. I did a review on it. I felt like the beginning of that show had a lot of problems, but then it kind of ironed itself out as it went. You just kind of had to keep on going. And once they got to the end, the finale for me was really good. I felt like Doom Patrol is very good and very underrated. Especially that first episode was phenomenal. That explained Brandon Fraser's story. I thought they had a spectacular cast for Doom Patrol. Only one episode so far really was like meh, where it was kind of woke, but the rest of it was pretty decent. So I mean,
you just said DC woke, so
yeah, there was one episode with Matt Baumer, and it got into a whole LGBT thing. It was painful to watch. It was bad, but there was so much anger after that episode that the next episode course corrected really quickly. So like, that I was like, all right, I could deal with one or two bad episodes. I just can't deal with a consecutively bad thing. Everyone was pissed about Starfire, and I was just like, whatever, man. She's an alien. You can interpret that however you want to. I mean, that would have been stupid to make her orange.
Right.
Go ahead.
And that's the difference where I wish Geek in Disguise was still here for this topic, is that MCU fans are a little bit more forgiving. And this is why he got so upset. It's like we can forgive certain things because MCU has had a track record of giving us good products. Therefore, it's easy for us to forgive when they make missteps, where DC has been constantly making missteps, and then their fan base is so rabid and angry. But yet, when you try to bring up the points, they avidly defend their product.
And the point that I made yesterday, and I don't remember if we were still on the stream or if it was after, when I said that the DCEU was rushed compared to the MCU, and he's like, what do you mean? Civil War was rushed. I didn't mean in the making of the movie. I was talking about the story that the movies were telling. Like, you shouldn't be making the Justice League movie before you've introduced all of the characters. You shouldn't be introducing multiple characters in the Justice League movie.
Yeah, you should
introducing like one or two, because like the MCU, the way that they always set it up, and yeah, they alluded to the other ones when he's looking at the files on the computer, but that's not introducing the character.
Well, hang on now, because technically speaking, if we want to say that, I mean, yeah, I get the whole part about DC, like, making Aquaman right after Justice League.
Which I was surprised. I give Aquaman credit because I was surprised they swam past that.
But then you have to look at a contrast of what Marvel has just done with Captain Marvel being shoehorned in at the last very second, where you have to make a movie that's supposed to be before any of the other movies, except Avengers, the first Avenger with Captain America, because it's 1989. And then you're going to shoehorn that character into Endgame, and you're like, even if you didn't watch the film, you're like, who the hell is this person, and why are they so important?
Right, and the only reason that they had to shoehorn her in because they're like, oh, people need to know who she is and how she can save Tony Stark from the middle of nowhere. They need to understand that she has butthole hyperdrive.
Anyone who's in the chat, hashtag it, or anyone who watches this, butthole hyperdrive. We started it.
I've coined that term.
Yeah.
PB coined it. Anyone uses it,
I haven't heard anybody else say it yet.
Yeah, we're going to make T-shirts with Brie Larson on a NASA launch pad, and it says butthole hyperdrive underneath it.
Oh, I also wanted to give a quick shout out to thank you everyone who is still watching, and also we are up to 10 likes so far. So continue. My shameless plug.
I mean, they didn't need to. Where was the scene from the end of Captain Marvel in the post credits where she shows up and says, "Where's Fury?" Where was that in Endgame? When did it happen? Exactly. It never fucking happened. Whereas what I likened it to was when Coulson goes in phase 1 to the land of enchantment and sees the hammer in the ground. That scene is in Thor. You see it happen. You see it happen in the movie. It's like, we're going to take this scene out of Thor's movie. We're going to take 5 seconds of it, 10 seconds of it, and we're going to put it as a little clip, as a teaser. And they took the teaser and they're like, hey, we're going to put this teaser here, and it's not going to be connected at all. And you have no idea when it actually happened because she never fucking looked like that.
Well, PB, I have a simple explanation for that, because what they're going to say is that after Nick Fury presses the button for Captain Marvel in Infinity War, and when you watch Captain Marvel and you get that post-credit scene when she goes to Thor and she's like, where's Fury? It's because she's now arrived on Earth in 2019. But then they skipped 5 years. Wait, no, they can't skip 5 years because she has to go. She has to go find him out in space before he suffocates.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is that the pager goes off, and that makes her randomly save Tony Stark.
Okay, can we? And oh my god, I know how this is gonna sound, but PB's favorite line. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Can we? You know, I gotta say that at least once. Can we, if we're being good Marvel fans and giving them the benefit of the doubt,
don't say that.
Hey, I can now. I'm holding up my finger. I can do that now because this is my stream. Damn it.
I don't see your finger.
Just that thing sticking out from his crotch.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a unicorn with a strap on.
Oh no, we are not going down that road. This is not a late night stream.
Anyway,
can we give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe on her way to Earth to answer the distress call, she picked up Tony Stark? Because if that scene, I hate defending Captain Marvel, but that scene,
yeah, so do I.
Then they go to the whole her talking to everyone and the whole stupid hammer thing, and I like this one. Then that whole thing goes down.
Scene extra pisses me off because the first time I seen it, the video that I made for the response for it, all the other ones I just listed, like I copied the name from what the clip was and just put reaction. But for that one, I put visceral reaction because I was fucking pissed. I was like, there better be some more exposition of why the fuck he likes her, and there's none of it. Like, she says that she's out there protecting people, but okay, why didn't you fucking go kill Thanos when you needed to? If you're protecting people, don't you want to protect half of the fucking universe?
Lee, PB, I got something to ask you guys. So here's the thing I need to ask, because like I said, I haven't seen the movie, and I'm just going off depositions based upon what you guys are telling me. So when she brings back Tony back to Earth, and this is still 2019, do you see Thor at any time when she brings back Tony?
The first time that you see Thor is like when they cut to the next scene and Tony's like hooked up to an IV already and he's bitching at Cap for not fucking being able to, make the shield around the planet with Ultron back in the day, and he couldn't save everybody. And then Thor is just like sitting in the other room or whatever that they showed in the trailer.
So what does Thor look like? Does he look like Ragnarok Thor, or is he Fat Thor?
He
Ragnarok
is still he's still he looks exactly like he does at the end of Infinity War. Did you see Infinity War?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He puts in
exactly
the
like
eyeball
that.
that Rocket Raccoon puts in. Yeah,
Yep.
He's like, here, take this.
Yep.
Okay.
So no, he's not fat at that point. He gets fat in the 5-year intermission.
Okay. Just want to make sure
He's
other
just
gripe
sitting
with
in his
that-
apartment or house at New Asgard playing video games with Korg and drinking beer. That's
for
all he
5
does.
years. For
For
5
fucking
years.
Yep.
Well, I could buy Thor became an alcoholic after that whole situation.
It's totally reasonable that he did. But what is weird is that once he starts fighting again, he doesn't seem to be slower. I thought he was going to be like move slower because he's fat. He doesn't seem to move any slower. Could you tell any difference, Lee? Like when he's actively fighting, he seems to move just as fast as he does in Infinity War.
1 minute. I'm sure to get there. Hang on. Okay, I'm good.
That was a great
Hold my
voice.
beer. Hold my beer.
Quickly, do not drop the Coors.
Sweet rabbit, hold my axe. Hang on. Okay, I'm good. Let me have it.
Does anyone have a Dorito?
I need a Red Bull and a beer. Let me put them together. All right, I'm good.
I now have Asgardian wings. Yeah, see, and these are the things that are huge issues with this movie. Is that it's the theory of window dressing. You go in, you see from the outside that everything looks pretty, it looks nice, we're all engaged in it, and everything's action packed and moving, and it's all feels like a diversion to distract us from what the real problems is. And when you first go in seeing it as a fan, you're like, oh man, there's so many things running through your mind. But then when you sit down and you think about it and you analyze it and you break it down, when you see it a second time or third time and you're watching,
your review drops 3 points.
Yes, because then when you have the notepad and you're looking at it and you're really looking for stuff, you go, wow, this is out of place. This is out of place. How does this connect to this? And I mean, in some ways, you see callbacks, like when he's in the office with the picture and you see Peggy Carter and he looks and he goes, oh, that's what I was. And it's kind of a symbolism of how far Cap's journey was. Those little things are good. But the problem is, unlike Infinity War, where those had real weight and impact, the moments that should have weight and impact don't, because all of the big glaring problems are weighing it down. And that is why my overall rating dropped as sharply as it did, because I realized that as much good, true nostalgic things that were nostalgically placed, but tastefully, not the Rise of Skywalker placed, but more
I can't do
homage.
Palpatine's laugh.
More. And see, even that's why I was even saying you can't compare this to Star Wars, because the nostalgia wasn't set up here as a way to draw us in. Quite literally, we were going more on faith built by goodwill as opposed to where Star Wars is going on nostalgia to hopefully get people in.
Oh, 100%. I mean, every time that I'm on Twitter and anybody's bringing up freaking episode 9 and says, "Oh, well, yeah, it's gonna be good. Didn't you see all the stuff that's in it?" I was like, "It's just a nostalgia bomb, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
gonna work on me this time because I know what they did in episode 8. Unless they're gonna call it, and they didn't change the name because it's called The Rise of Skywalker. I thought it should be called Star Wars Episode 9, Episode 8.
Okay.
There you go. That solves the problem.
Now here I'm gonna go a little bit on a tangent on this, but this is probably a stream for another day. My whole feelings on this is that it should not just having that name sets me off because this is not the Skywalker trilogy. Stop calling it the Skywalker trilogy. This is not the Rise of Skywalker. And how do you even have an oxymoron in the name? Because if this is supposed to be
Hell, it's the end of Skywalker, if you want to ask me.
yeah, if this is supposed to be the end, you have a title that signifies the beginning. You're contradicting yourself before the movie even comes out.
The Rise of Skywalker should have been episode 7. I'm here, bitches. I've came back for 30 years. We're taking on the First Order. Let's do it.
There you go. There you go. I mean, yeah, when I saw that EVS video, hey, they had this name back in, what was it,
2012.
Like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was
So-
like, oh, that would have worked for a name, and then Luke Skywalker would have came back, and it would have made perfect freaking sense because his name is Skywalker, whereas Leia's name is either Organa or Solo. I don't know if she wants to fully change it or it's hyphenated or something, but her name isn't Skywalker. So even if they want to say that she is a Skywalker, we're talking about specific names, not titles. Skywalker isn't a title. And if they really sell it as that's what they're changing Jedi
to?
into,
Yeah.
as they're Skywalkers now. And I was like, holy shit, man. Yeah, that's why she can do that flip because she's a Skywalker. She can literally walk in the sky over a TIE fighter.
Hey, Lee, I'll be right back. I gotta go take 5, all right?
All right. But like, and PB, like, here is the thing that scares me going forward. And the reason why basically, no matter how I overall feel about this movie, I've got to I love the film for what it was. And I've got to love this because it's all I've got left. It's all I got left.
Yeah, I said yesterday, it's the end, as they're telling us, and what I said, it's the Iron Man MCU. That's what I'm calling it now. Because if he's dead and they're not going to use time travel to bring him back, even though obviously they can, because that's how the machine works, and it doesn't affect stuff because you can just move forward without affecting the time in between, apparently. Which, okay, whatever. That's how you use your time travel. Okay, you got to get on. If they're establishing the rules, that's how it works. And that, that's the problem with The Last Jedi, is that the rules were established and they're like, no, that they're not necessarily established because we're in control of the canon now. So fuck all that shit. We are telling you what the rules are. This is how it works now. Force ghosts can touch you. They can bring forth lightning.
And now, here's the thing that scares me about it is that I'm afraid that we're entering what I thought we would never enter, but it's very reminiscing to Star Wars. Now, I love Star Wars, but when Star Wars went downhill, I said, oh, well, at least I still have the MCU. And now it's like, no, I don't, because I can, as if I have Doctor Strange vision, I can see 1,000 different outcomes and none of them good. None of them remotely good.
Especially because we got the ending. I mean, Captain America looks like he's gonna die on the bench. Like, he gave him the shield and he's like, okay, I'm gonna stand up and have a freaking heart attack right now, and that's the end of my story. And then Iron Man is dead, and the third Avenger that they ever introduced, Black Widow, is also dead, and then Thor joined somebody who's not going to be involved in stuff on Earth. I assume they're not going to be involved with stuff on Earth. They're going to be out in space. So he's going to be gone with an entire another group. So he's not going to be part of the Avengers. He's going to be part of the Asgardians of the Galaxy. So
And now
it's
this
just
is
like
what I was
in
meaning to
Infinity
ask
War,
you.
you had like the Avengers teaming up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. They became a team.
And this was what I was going to ask you. Um, as a thing that you know, because normally my reviews go pros, cons. You've seen my videos, but I wanted to do something special for this because I think it really is even hard for me by myself to dissect. Now, giving up an overall, you know, saying what we said, giving our scores. The question is, seeing as to they destroyed the Skrulls in Captain Women, um, they destroyed that story arc, which for I don't know if you know much about the comic books, but for the comic book fans, we thought when they introduced them, they were going Secret Wars.
Oh yeah. I haven't read the comic books, but I've definitely watched enough and looked up enough to understand what the Skrulls were in the comic books, and they the only inspiration they used for the Skrulls in the MCU is the fact that they have spaceships and can change what they look like. That's it.
Yeah, and no one understood why I was so mad about that plot point because now you just single-handedly, they literally destroyed an entire arc. So the question
mean-
becomes, where do you go from? What threat is gonna? Because you know the next phase, everything they compare it to now is gonna be Thanos. Thanos is one of the best villains, hands down, the MCU has ever had. And I put like I put Ultron and Killmonger as like my top three great villains because the rest were just throwaways to move the bigger story. So if you have a great villain like Thanos, the question becomes in this new phase, what is the next great threat? What is the next thing that's going to invest us so much that we care? And that is another problem. Okay, you gave us an end to 21 films leading to a final battle. We had the final battle. We had the conclusion, whether we like it or not. We had this overarching 21 movie threat dealt with. It's done. That's the end. Now, what can compare to that? 21 films built Thanos. How do you eclipse that? Do you bring them back? Do you? I mean, you destroyed Secret Wars. The Skrulls could have been compelling. You could have slowly introduced them and built them up as, hey, they can be anyone. They can maybe take the shape of heroes, right? And get people turning against each other and stuff like that. But you destroyed that.
Right. Yep.
So it's like, what?
Because they just want to find a place to live and not hurt anybody.
Yeah, there were a bunch of immigrants.
They just want to get over the border. Just give them a break.
And that was another thing that really ticked me off was like real world politics like that had never hit Marvel. And it's just like, okay, you introduced this concept. What does that have to do with the story? That had literally nothing. There's not even a jump.
Oh my god, what did I walk into?
For that. The Skrulls and their allegory to immigration.
We're trying to figure out what they're gonna do moving forward and who the big bad is gonna be and how they're gonna be able to compare to Thanos, who was built up over the course of 20 movies. I call it 20 because I don't consider him being built up in the first Captain America.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's just the Tesseract that's really introduced.
Right, it's an Infinity Stone, and you're like,
so you're wondering who the big baddie's going to be in the next film?
Right, and I think that they might have had an issue finding one before they bought Fox. But now that they
Uh,
literally own all of their characters again, the possibilities are almost limitless.
oh, it
Like
is when you
everybody
introduce the
says the one.
X-Men and now it's going to be Magneto.
Oh, you think the big bad is going to be Magneto?
Yeah, but here's
Yeah.
the thing.
Because
Are we
Interesting.
see that creates problems because then I can buy Magneto from the new canon. I actually like the new X-Men. I can buy
Yeah,
Michael
I like all
Fassbender
the X-Men
Magneto.
films. I mean, they're not all
but
great.
it's
Some
not
of them
going to
are
it's not
great.
going to be Fox's X-Men in the MCU. It's going to be their own take on the X-Men, which means they can be completely created just on the fact that the Infinity Stones allow, like, remember how you were telling me about magic, the threefold thing. You know, basically Tony Stark using the snap basically created half the population of every single thing into mutants now.
Yeah, all the people that came back could be mutants.
Yeah.
Every
I
single
mean,
one
but
of
what
them.
route do you go? Because the only one I could think of that would be comparable to like a Thanos would be Apocalypse, a redone Apocalypse, not the
Oh, I got the
Apocalypse we
one that
got.
I always kept hearing was Galactus.
Yeah,
But
Galactus from Fantastic Four. Yeah, the
but the
World
but
Eater.
the
Silver
but the
Surfer goes to different planets.
well, I was
Yeah,
Sorry.
thinking
but
like
here's the thing:
the
they
actual
tried
being, not
Galactus
the fucking
before.
weird thing.
They tried Galactus before. No, they've tried Galactus twice now, and that's been a horrible experiment because he's just too hard to. I mean, that's a really hard
You
sell.
mean
And then how do
comical?
you build that up?
I don't know. How did you build up Dormammu?
Oh gosh. I mean,
Appar-
there's a ton of different
Hey,
villains, but the problem is,
read
I
the
don't see
last message in the chat, Lee.
what's that.
Read the last message in the chat.
Imagine. Okay, this one is from Ancient One. Imagine Magneto killing Thanos, takes over the Infinity Gauntlet. What would you do?
If
That's
Magneto was there, I just want to talk about him. The gauntlet is made of metal. He could have taken it off so easily.
oh
oh yeah,
yeah,
people
yeah.
point that out. People point that out. Like if the X-Men were part of the Avengers Endgame or the Infinity War, it would be Magneto's like so overpowered because he's able to manipulate anything with metal. I mean, he could have crushed Thanos' army just like the snap of his fingers because they're all fucking metal.
Yeah, that's another problem too, is that X-Men are able to be nerfed within their world because there's always something to counterbalance. But when you introduce them into the MCU and with team ups and stuff, that's why they really only mess with Wolverine, who is overpowered himself because essentially he can't really die. It becomes a question of you got all these properties, but what's next? In my mind, Thanos is going to be a hard one to top. I mean, that's going to be a hard sell.
Right. I mean, he wasn't necessarily the greatest character when he was just in the post-credit scene or in Guardians, but once he was the focus, just like, I mean, the only person that I can compare him to from Infinity War is Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. It's the only one I can compare it to. Because how many other superhero movies out there will you say the focus of the superhero movie is the ultimate villain?
Yeah, and that's what made Joker so compelling. When you really think about it, Joker could not take Batman in a fist fight. I mean, he could hold his own, but he can't. You can't really say he could take him. Whereas, he was though thinking 10 steps ahead of him
Right.
every single part in that movie. And
he's the
a lot of
only
people
character that can have
say,
more tactics than Batman.
yeah, what makes him so interesting is we all assume that he's insane, but there's a brilliance in his insanity. because you know there's a fine line between crazy and brilliant. He just happens to be crazy and brilliant because half of his plans always hinge on him tricking Batman into getting into these different wacky scenarios and traps and things like that. And his brutality when he executes his plan, because then he doesn't have any remorse
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
just like he freaking makes him go save Two-Face.
Yeah.
Let's just face what Disney's going to do to us, guys. Tom Hiddleston's career is not over.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay. Did you see when I believe it was at Comic-Con when he was there? I don't know if they were promoting Endgame or if they were promoting Captain Marvel, but he was there and Brie Larson was there and Samuel L. Jackson was there. And Samuel L. Jackson comes out in like something that would make you think he was freaking Shaft, like he was looking suave. And Brie Larson comes out in like freaking one of her normal like jumpsuit or like something from the Entertainment Tonight thing. And Tom Hiddleston comes out in full freaking Loki gear with the staff at the convention. And I was like, yeah, that's because he loves his character and wants to actually play it and knows who the hell it is instead of just showing up like Brie Larson said she did and was like, oh, I don't know the character. And they said, just say these couple lines. And that's what I did. And that's how I played Captain Marvel in Endgame. It was, that's how I did it.
I
don't
played
know
my
who the character
bitchiest
is.
self ever.
I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. That was one video I watched before I went to sleep last night. I was like, holy shit, you just showed up and read the lines? You didn't even know who the character was? Like, you didn't open one comic book at any point or search on Google and be like, oh, I'm playing this character? She does what and can do this and that? When she had all these other interviews where she's like, oh, yeah, when I was promoting Captain Marvel, I knew I was the strongest of all time. And now this one comes up. Oh, yeah, when I did Endgame, I didn't know shit. I was like, yeah, it shows. It definitely shows.
And this is the problem moving forward. Okay. I've heard a lot of scary theories thrown out, and I wanted to run them past you guys. When I set up this stream, it was sort of random, so I really don't have a time limit. But as long as 4 people are hanging in there, I guess we're just gonna keep on talking.
Well, Bonnie just sent me that she's got her stream up, so I don't know if you want to join that later on, Lee. But I was just letting you know.
Oh yeah, I got to get into a different mode for that.
Well, there's a bottle of wine next to you somewhere, isn't it?
I don't know. We should have PB jump in one of those.
Oh God. If my wife's not asleep, she'll hear the stuff that I'm saying and be like, what the fuck are you talking about out there?
Who are you talking to?
Because I can't be doing these ridiculous dares that you guys are doing, like sending pictures of yourself to people. I don't do that kind of stuff.
PB, just do like the State Farm commercial. It's Jake from State Farm.
Just send a picture of your avatar.
Here's a dick pic. That's what my saber looks like. It's green.
Oh God.
I'm gonna have to age restrict this later.
No, we're not.
Damn.
One of my students are gonna be on here and be like, Mr. Cole, what are you talking about? And I'm gonna be like, whoops.
Just a friend. It's just a friend.
But like,
anyway,
you know, I wanted to get your take while we're still going. What do you guys feel about? Oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this. West Coast Avengers.
Oh no, hell no.
Whoa. What the hell is West Coast Avengers?
Oh, should
look it up.
Or do you want to
look it up?
I'm in such pain thinking about this. You take it. Tell them the roster.
Avengers. Okay.
Okay. West Coast Avengers is led by Hawkeye with a bunch of fucking woke ass characters. Like you have Gwenpool.
Who is looking this shit up? Why is it when I type just the word West, the first thing at the top, my phone's listening to me? Hey.
Yeah, so
First
basically,
appearance, 1984. So they had AIDS.
it's
Look at
not
the
a new
list.
idea, but they've taken it to a new extreme in the past years.
So let's look at founders. Hawkeye, Clint Barton, Mockingbird. That's his daughter? Barbara Barton or his wife?
No, his daughter is Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
Who takes the name
So who's
Kate
Barbara
Bishop,
Barton? His wife?
aka Hawkeye.
Who the hell's Mockingbird?
It's dude, you're getting into a new extreme with me about that. I have no fucking clue.
Oh,
All I can tell you is that it's very fucking woke in the new editions
Okay.
now.
Mockingbird is kind of like the equivalent of Nightwing.
Tigra? Never heard of it. Okay, let's look at the recruits. Iron Man, Anthony Edwards. What? That he was in one volume or something like that? Okay. The Thing, Hank Pym, Moon Knight, Firebird, The Wasp, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. Okay. What a team. What a team. I'm sure all of these big names appear for like one freaking print.
Yeah, and then you had Kamala Khan, Squirrel Girl. I kid you not.
God.
Her powers is to control squirrels. You had Gwenpool, who was the female version of Deadpool. There was a female Spider-Man.
Oh, don't tell me that they made it Spider Gwen.
Yep, it's Spider Gwen.
Yeah,
that's her name.
Isn't that Chuck Wendig's creation?
Yeah. Don't get me started on Chuck Wendig.
Hercules Jerkily.
This
I could write better than that when I was freaking 10 years old, man, and this guy was writing like that for Disney?
Yeah,
yes.
and
you got to be effing me.
How much money do you think you get paid for writing more than a 10-year-old?
Holy crap! For that one book, he probably got paid $100,000.
That's $100,000 more than I have, isn't it?
Right.
So if we're going by the woke status, okay, now, and we're
West
applying
Coast Avengers. Oh my God! So I could put a movie lower than Captain Marvel.
Or she could lead
just think,
the West Coast
now,
Avengers.
in my mind, this is the new roster. It'll be what's that chick's name? Okia or whatever. Valkyrie. Okoye. I hated her, so I don't know. Okoye, the scientist from Wakanda, the useless one.
Shuri,
never liked her. It'll be them, so they have diversity. It'll be Captain Woke. It'll be of course the Asgard chick there, Valkyrie.
Yeah,
and then they'll probably
she has to stay in Norway at New Asgard or whatever they named the town.
No, they'll probably find a way to pass it off so she can join the woke Avengers.
No, I'm saying she has to stay on Earth so she'll be available.
yeah. They'll start at Asgard on Earth and they'll section it off from the rest of the world like Wakanda did.
Yep.
And then you can introduce Squirrel Girl and Kamala Khan in there, and you can do Miss Marvel, being that they started backwards. And apparently Carol Danvers never became Miss Marvel. Now you can maybe they'll take Monica Rambeau and make her Miss Marvel.
Oh my God.
Or they'll just have two different Marvels.
Oh yeah, that way we have full diversity.
Yeah, we got Captain Marvel, and then we got Miss Marvel's Monica Rambeau.
You said there was full diversity. I didn't hear you say a white guy. Who's the white guy?
Kate Bishop. That's Hawkeye's daughter. They clearly.
That's a woman.
Oh,
or did she transition? Who's the white guy?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Why do I keep dropping shit?
They introduced Clint again because he never died.
Yeah, so Hawkeye leads the fucking West Coast Avengers.
They keep Hawkeye in there, but all the women run the show.
I don't know. Do you guys think they're gonna take any kind of hiatus after they make a couple movies and take
No.
maybe a year or two off to
No.
If
let the
this does 3
timeline catch
billion,
up?
which I think it will, they ain't taking a hiatus.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
They're gonna do Far From Home.
This'll do 3 billion, and then Far From Home's gonna do like 700 million.
I'm gonna call
800
$1 billion if we're
Oh,
riding the coattails of
it
Endgame.
might, but there's no post credit scene.
Well, no, they said they're gonna bring them back in Far From Home.
Yeah, but I mean, you would think if you really wanted people to show up for Far From Home and you want to guarantee that $1 billion, all they had to do was put at the end. You don't need the post credit scene. Just put up the little tag that says Spider-Man will return in Far From Home, like they have done with other movies. Just put that little tag up there. You don't need a scene. Just do that so that people know, because everyone is going to stay anyways for nothing. Fucking retarded. Oh, but there's a sound effect at the end. I was like, yeah, to let me know that Iron Man's still dead. Thanks for rubbing salt in the wound, you assholes. What?
When I heard there was no end credit scene, thankfully I worked there. So I cleaned the theater and I waited to the very end. I go, I don't believe this. And I looked and I go, there really is no end credit scene.
Hey, I got a question. Because I haven't seen the movie still. How was the soundtrack?
Like, are we talking with actual songs they were added, or with
Yeah, like
original...
like how every single MCU film has always had at least like one modern song. Like Iron Man had "I Am Iron Man," and you had Thor with Led Zeppelin's.
Well, I mean, Iron Man 2 is just a best of AC/DC, essentially.
Yeah, but but what I'm saying is that was there any modern soundtrack with
Lee, you would have to answer that because I don't remember. I only saw it once.
There was nothing really memorable. It was mostly orchestra, except for Star-Lord.
What song was playing? Oh yeah, you hear his song playing again because they go back to when he was going to get his Infinity Stone at the beginning of Guardians. So you hear that little bit, and that scene's a little funny because you hear all the music playing, but then they cut to who the hell is stalking him? I can't remember.
It's War Machine and Nebula.
Oh yeah, they cut to their perspective, so then you can't hear the music and you hear just Chris Pratt singing it, and it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, that was really good because he is so tone deaf.
Yeah, and then Nebula just like sneaks up behind him and punches him in the face.
Which apparently, if all you want to do is fucking get Peter Quill to be fucking surprised, you just attack him when he's singing his duet to himself.
Because he didn't think anybody was on the planet. So, I don't know. There's certain things like that I loved in the movie, but it's still disappointing.
But once again, this is the other problem. Yeah, that's a great point, Prime, because honestly, even going through and reading notes, I was trying to pick out the problems. Nothing in the soundtrack really stood out either. That's a great point, and it's all circling back around to why my score plummeted. Because then, when you really dissect it and you hold it under a microscope, those are the things, and the scale that should have been in this movie was in Infinity War. And here's the problem with doing these two films separate, which I stick by. I think if you package it and have it as one long movie, it may make sense to an overall ending. But with the way that they did it, having Infinity War being like this grand, epic, like giant buildup, and then Thanos comes and it's everything we expected, and the ending is messed up because no one wins, and it leaves you in a place of despair. And that left you feeling like, whoa, like what are they gonna do? What's gonna happen? And this movie feels like, okay, some things were touched on, some things were wrapped up, but there's still emptiness. I still don't have all the answers. I still don't have all the conclusions. They still like kind of weirdly set up for their next phase, but it's so weird. Like when I go back through it, it's so weird. It's like, are you saying this is an ending? Are you beginning something? It's very schizophrenic.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Nick Fury standing on the porch there looks like he's ready to give some orders to somebody.
But who? And what is he waiting for? I mean, these are all things that we don't get a definitive answer for. And that, I think, is the thing that's rattling around with everyone who's seen it. Once you get the hazy excitement glasses off and you start actually watching it for the movie it is, a lot of things do fall apart for you as you're following along with the film. And it doesn't necessarily make it a bad film, but it makes a film feel like an incomplete film or a rushed film.
Yeah, what me and Prime were talking about last night was instead of making it one like 5 hour and 40-minute movie, we said you could make it into its own trilogy and you could end the first movie right when Thor shows up in Wakanda with the axe. And that would be the high note that you're ending it on, like, oh yeah, he's there. They're gonna beat him. And then when you move on to the next movie, add a little more to the front end of the battle, like have a big opening battle, and then Thanos does his snap, and then you end the second movie with them killing him after he's done the second snap. And then it's like the despair of, well, what are we going to do now? The stones are gone. And then in the third movie, they come up with, Ant-Man gets out, and you tell the rest of the story of how they are able to go back and get the stones and set everything right. Instead of making it one long movie, you split it up into a trilogy so that you have a rise, a fall, and then your other rise again, and then just that little bit of falling action at the end of the last movie to wrap up the story, instead of leaving us with a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah, because even with the questions we have, I do agree. If you made it smaller segments, then it would make sense to the whole. But because they're so long and they're so grand, they're that it just falls
Right.
short at that
They
ending
get
because it doesn't feel like an ending.
Yeah, they get turned into these epic stories. And I would say that Infinity War is an epic story, the same way that The Dark Knight is an epic story. Because I remember the first time that I was watching that movie, I thought it was going to end like 3 or 4 times, and it didn't. I was like, holy crap, it's still going? Holy crap, it's still going? Wow, I didn't think that this was going to happen. I thought that I thought the Joker was going to win like 2 times in that movie. And then it just kept going. I was like, holy shit, he actually pulled it off. He actually stopped him the way he said he was going to stop him. Even though, he did the super invasion of privacy.
And the thing that made it great was that story ended the way it should have, with him riding off. And even though we were uncertain about the future because he was now a fugitive and all that, it left us satisfied because we knew that he was riding off as Batman. He had stopped the Joker. Everyone was essentially safe because he'd stopped Harvey. There was no loose threads. And, we wanted to see the next movie because we were uncertain about the future of the character, but the story itself was wrapped up tightly. Where this one, we're just uncertain.
Right. I mean, if you take both of them together, The Dark Knight Rises wraps up the story of the main characters more than Endgame wraps up the stories of the main characters.
And
Because you
Dark
have,
Knight
I mean,
Rises
if
got such a bad rap, but I personally thought that was a great movie. I thought Tom Hardy was an excellent Bane.
Well, I think it gets an extra bad rap because of the Batman shooter. I think that, people had
Yeah,
their
and I
negative.
think that was really unfair. I mean, that was a bad tragedy, but that was really unfair to place on the entire movie because if you took that incident out, that movie does as well as Dark Knight does, at least in my mind,
Oh
because
yeah,
it had some
for
epic
sure.
moments. That part where he was standing in the football field and he presses the button and the kid's running and the whole football team behind him is going down in the crater, and then he
Yep.
just stops and looks.
And it's actually Hines Ward, a real
Yeah.
football player.
Yeah, I mean that was, I mean it was really good. There was a lot of good character arcs, like when he broke his back and showing Christian Bale broken down from his battles. I mean that was all good stuff, but you know that's probably a discussion for another day. But yeah, wrapping this thing up because surprisingly I've been going on for 2 hours here. I'm just gonna give now our revised final thoughts, and you know, I'll go down the line with Prime, who has the least invested in this because that lazy avatar hasn't even seen this.
Oh, I'm a lazy avatar now. Thanks a lot.
Well, I mean, he's not that lazy. He's constantly blowing on whatever that freaking thing is for his birthday because it's extended. It must take a lot of breath.
Yep, that's what it sounds like. All right, so I don't know. I guess I have. You talk about being a Marvel fan. I am not a Marvel fan. I used to
Well,
be. I got out of the comics real early. Just, went into Star Wars because Marvel Star Wars at their time of the early 2000s got really big. And I was like, oh shit, man. As a kid, like you could only ask your parents so much for Christmas. So I was like, which one do I choose? I'm going to go with Star Wars. Worst decision I ever made.
here, Prime, let me pose the question to you this way. Are you willing to spend 3 hours at some point in the future to watch the movie, unlike
No.
willing to spend the 2 hours
Oh,
and
Mike?
40 or
You saw like a watch party, or is that what you're saying?
well, no, I mean either at any point, either on a watch party or
Yeah,
at
I
your
can
own
watch it on the
time.
watch party. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna watch it when it comes out on Redbox for $1. But when it
Right.
comes, when it,
Whereas you're not willing to waste time watching The Last Jedi.
I watched The Last Jedi on Netflix just to see what the hoopla was about.
Oh, okay.
I also did the
And
same
how did
thing.
that go for you?
It's about as bad as it should have gotten.
Yep,
It's
I'll
like
never get that time back in my life.
watching the film. Like at some points you felt like it was Star Wars, but other points it was just like, what the fuck am I watching? It's.
Welcome to the club.
Honestly, I want to say that Ryan Johnson was. I don't want to say he was told he was making a Star Wars film, but he was making a Monty Python film, and he was like, "Oh, let me see how bad I can make this seem like a Monty Python Star Wars film."
So he did succeed.
I'm just half expecting to see, Luke Skywalker with the coconuts and clapping him in the background as Rose Tico rides the horse-looking thing.
That's magical right there. PB, as us being the Marvel fans, what's now that we've hashed things out for days and we've been on multiple streams and talking about this, what is your overall takeaway on all of this? I mean, and let's just go deeper because we both have been there from the beginning, connecting 21 films and everything. Does this do it for you, or are you dissatisfied? If this is it.
If it's it, I would say that I'm satisfied but disappointed because I was hoping that it was going to be a film that was better than its predecessor, which I knew was going to be tough because I have Infinity War as my favorite MCU film, and I got Civil War and then the original Avengers. That's my top three. So in order to beat those, it was going to have to be good, and it just had too many spots in it for me where it was like, wait, what's going on? Why are you doing that? Why aren't you just doing this? This seems way simpler and you're making it complicated. And it didn't seem like Infinity War and Civil War had that. It seemed like the complex stuff in those movies was the relationships. Like when the characters meet each other, they didn't know that they were both good guys, so they're fighting it out for a few minutes. Just like in Infinity War and in the original Avengers, when Thor shows up, what happens? He fights with Tony Stark and with Steve Rogers for what, like 5 minutes? Until he smacks the frickin' shield with the hammer and knocks down frickin' 200 trees. And they're like, oh, I guess we'll take a break now and talk about this. They don't have moments like that in Endgame for me. So I was a little disappointed, but I was satisfied with how most of the character arcs were wrapped up and with a lot of the emotional moments that they had in the movie. Like I said in one of the streams yesterday, I'm not ashamed to admit that there were 2 moments in the movie where I cried. One was the first time when Thor was talking to his mother. I wasn't expecting that to happen. I was expecting them to be able to avoid everybody because he knows all the back ways through the palace and they knew what room they had to get to. And he just happens to run into his mother. And I was like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting to see her in the film at all, really. I was expecting them to just slip in and stab Jane Foster with whatever that frickin' thing was to extract the ether and then get the hell out of there. And I was like, holy shit, that one got me a little bit. And then at the end, when Iron Man died, because he's my favorite Avenger, I was like, you sons of bitches, why did you, there's nothing you can do for him right here to like save him. And then you got to have this weird memorial. And then I was like, wait a second, how come I can hear his voice clear as day? What the hell's going on here? And then they have this freaking hologram in the room that looks like him. And I was like, son of a bitch. Now I'm crying enough that I got to wipe the tear off my cheek. Damn it. So it's the moments in the movie that I'm able to prop it up to a 7.5, but it's the story and continuity that knocks it down to a 7.5, because I'll be the first person to say I'm a total MCU shill and be like, oh yeah, it's the greatest freaking movie universe out there, and all their movies are freaking great. You know, up until March 8th, 2019, they were all freaking pretty damn good. I mean, Incredible Hulk is, Black Panther is, but you know, other than that, like, I like Thor 2. I got it in my second tier. It's at the bottom of it, but it's in the second tier. But other than that, like, I got half of the movies in the top tier. But I got Endgame. I still don't know exactly where I'm putting it. I'm probably putting it somewhere between Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, which means it's, to me, the worst of all of the Avengers movies, which is a little disappointing because it's the last one.
Very, very well said. My thoughts was I was going with a 10 when I had the rosy specs on, and even the second time I was like, I'm still solid. But when I brought that notepad in, and I thought about that stupid thing you said with the genie, and
you broke him, Prime. You broke him.
Hey, man, I just think with logic. That's all I do.
And then when Geek in Disguise brought up MacGuffins, which are a thing, and they are used very rampantly in this film. I started looking at it logically, and then I read media reports. I'm like, wait a second, I'm not on board with these guys. I'm a logical thinker, so I started like really analyzing it. And for me, my moments I cried was obviously Black Widow. I bawled.
Yep, I was close on that one. I was real close.
Just because that was a beautiful, to me, death in the way they slowed down the camera, the little emotions. And what dragged it down for me at the end was Infinity War had a lot of things, and you guys know me, I bring it up constantly in my review. it's not the things that are said that get me, but it's the things that are unsaid. Because I feel like you can convey a lot in a movie if you're a good actor with just how you look and how the other person looks at you. Those moments say so much, and they're the things that are missing in new films. Nowadays, people have to feel like they treat us like idiots and have to spell everything out. I like a film that treats me like an intelligent moviegoer and gives me a scene with two people with no dialogue that convey a ton of emotions without saying anything. And the thing that brought it down for me was there wasn't enough of those moments. You saw them sprinkled in there, and that Hawkeye scene was very telling. Even though there was dialogue, their looks, like Hawkeye knowing that he can't hold on. And then when she goes and pushes off the cliff, his look, like, you know, when he looks at her, he knows what she's going to do, but hopes that she doesn't, and she does it anyway. That was powerful for me. And there wasn't enough of those moments that really did it. And I agree with you on Tony Stark's death. I can't stand Iron Man personally, just because I always sided with Cap. But in that moment, for me, Peter Parker made me tear up because it was a callback to Infinity War.
Mr.
Where
Stark. Mr. Stark. Mr. Stark.
I don't care. The way that it was delivered was a direct callback from when Tony looks at him and goes, kid, it's going to be okay. You know, it was a direct play off of the first death. It almost was like a complete circle, and I don't know, something about it got me. And then Gwyneth Paltrow had to go and say, "It's okay, rest. You can rest now." I was like, "No, shut up, stop talking." And then right afterward, they do the reef.
I thought that was a good line. I thought that was a good line.
No, I just said that because I was already on the edge.
Oh, yes,
when
that's
she
what put
said
it over
that,
the top for me.
Yeah, when she said that. Because she was so elegant in that scene. She didn't cry because she didn't want that to be the last thing that he saw. But then the little clip before they cut where you see the breakdown. And then, like you said, and then they have the hologram of him talking.
Yeah.
And like talking to his daughter. And then you have the reef and a slow drawback. And taking out Justin Bieber, everyone in that thing fit. So... for me, Captain America's, God, now they got me doing it. Captain America.
Oh, no, you sound like Chris Knight.
Captain Marvel was so pleasant in that film.
Did you see my eyebrows go up? No, damn it, Chris, if you're watching this. No, Captain America's scene also got me. Just not the whole bench thing. I saw the plow hole, but the dance got me just because of the fact that it was kind of a callback. I liked that. I understand the whole doing it at the hall thing, but I felt like it was more intimate in that setting, so that worked for me. But fair. Like the whole thing with Captain America. Got me to more because I realized he was done and he's my favorite. And so my final thoughts are that I think Hoff put it best. It's bittersweet. It's like just it's a lot to swallow.
It's like watching G2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you see him drop himself down, and he gives you the thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Oh, that scene always gets me to this day. I'm good. And then when John Connor starts talking, I'm like, no, shut up, don't say it. But you know he's going to say it because you've seen the movie 15 times. He's like, don't go. You can say. He's like, I can't. And I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't go, Arnold. And he goes and does the thumbs up all the way down. I'm like, oh, God.
You forgot the critical part before he does the thumbs up. He's like, I think I understand why you cry now.
Stop it. You didn't bring me to that place. I don't want to be there and exit out with tears in my eyes going, this is the end of my live stream. Soy Cole has returned. I'll see you guys later. No, but and that is my gripe for all of the really big moments that were supposed to be big and impactful. The little moments were more impactful, and there weren't enough of them, and so that's why I said at a 7. So, yeah, this has been my longest review that I've ever done, but I needed to be special because this film I felt wasn't something I can do by myself. I mean, even posting it later, I couldn't do a spoiler free because I didn't have the words to be like, I felt like I'd go off on a tangent and ruin something. So I had to do this review, and I had to have a panel because I had to talk it out and come to my final conclusion. So in close, we're going to plug everyone and get the heck out of here. So, oh, Lord help me. I can jump on to whatever madness we got going on over yonder. So, being that you have the shortest plug, Prime, go ahead.
Na 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 na. Don't cry. Don't cry. I give thumbs up.
Okay.
Okay. PrimeGeekCollections.com. Find us on YouTube, and for Twitter, it's at Prime Geeks. There you go.
All right. So make sure that you are going to that website so that Prime can get money to get a new thing for his birthday stuff because we're tired of looking at him blowing at that thing. Yeah, that was kind of suggestive. PB, to go ahead and plug yourself.
Hey everybody, it's PB here. You can find me at Pop Culture PB on YouTube and Twitter. I do news from Marvel and Star Wars and High Council highlights, and I'm gonna have a new video coming out about how Google and its cast list is broken.
PB, not DC.
I haven't. The only DC video that I done is the one where I said on International Women's Day, stay at home and watch TNT because Wonder Woman's gonna be on.
Oh, that's funny.
It's only a minute long. It's hilarious.
So make sure you are checking out PB. I have checked out his videos. They are funny. I watched the new one without Zoe Sedan. Everyone check that one out. He's got some interesting facts. He pulled up the Google thing. Google is broke.
Damn it,
now
Geek,
that
you got
he's
in
here
late.
at the end, just
I
to
figured
claim
as
the
much.
glory of a
He's here to plug
plug.
himself.
And not only that, but he passed me in subscribers and has to rub it in my face by coming and shamelessly plugging himself.
I'm not even sure how much later I'm going to be up. I was just popping around to say good night, and I just left Bonnie's stream because I'm getting tired, dude. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I'm gonna join that in just a minute. So I just missed you. That sucks.
Yeah, she got you over there, man.
What do you mean?
You'll have to rewatch the stream to find out.
Wait, whoa. Hang on. What do you mean she's got me?
Well, they were doing fill in the blank, and you were one of her blanks, and
Oh no. What?
yep.
Come on, man.
Oh my goodness. All right, so Geek in Disguise, after horrifying Prime, go ahead and introduce your channel because you do got good content, and you gotta
Prime,
share
don't
with
you
me
mean
how
Geek?
you're working the algorithm because you got more views than any of us right now.
I have no clue how this is working.
Oh, I got a question. How did, when you switched that one trailer to film or film, did it work out?
Actually, yeah. Let's see. I think I was one of my trailer reaction to Lucifer, I think. Let me double check and make sure.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
That one was it. Like I've been doing my where the hell was it go? What was one of the other ones I did?
What? You just did a 3-minute and 51-second live stream 4 minutes ago?
I didn't mean to hit the live stream. I had my shit up.
Oh,
And you didn't invite us? What?
Hang on for a second.
entertainment.
Did you see Lee's live stream he did 6 hours ago?
No.
Yeah, he's in his car and he puts on his glasses and it looks like he's about to say "I'll be back," but he cuts out the wrong time.
Entertainment is
I
what
loved
I've been
it.
putting my stuff as.
Yeah. I've just been trying new things. When I do weird stuff like that, people are like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yep, this is what you get on my channel."
Like I was kind of hoping my Chernobyl trailer 2 would kind of climb in views like my Chernobyl trailer 1, but it doesn't seem to be going that way. I
That's
don't
because
know.
you had so much hate on your Chernobyl trailer one.
I really don't know, man. Every time I log in, I'm like, holy shit, these things are just soaring here. Like yesterday, like the Stanley was at like 400 and something. Today it's like 702.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's that live stream we had together. They got to that last 2 minutes of you fucking bitching out. PB
Yeah,
watched
DC
it.
was like, DC is giving you props. They're sending over people. They're like, this guy is for us. Everybody come over.
Yeah, because PB saw what you did, and I laughed my ass off, man. Because I overheard it. I was like, man, motherfucker! Everybody gives the MCU these props, but every time DC does something, everybody shits down their throats. I can't stand what the fuck these fucking shields saying. Click, bye.
Fuck this shit. Damn.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, we don't know, but Geek in Disguise is super secretly working with DC. We're gonna see him on another live stream. He's gonna have a ball cap, full merch. He's gonna have DC Universe for life.
He's gonna have the Warner Brothers logo on top of his hat.
Store, you could get this hat.
No, I'm gonna go vanilla fresh with the WB carved in the side of my head here. With
Yeah.
Ding, ding.
Oh yeah, but no, we love you over here, man. Go ahead, tell us about your channel, what you're working on, and things like that.
Geek in Disguise, just general all around movie news, reviews, television news and reviews, reactions to television trailers, movie trailers. You know, the occasional rant, the occasional Hulk out. Now, guys, like I said, I'm just trying to diversify a little bit and play with different things and see where it goes. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have something for everybody, hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, come check me out. Watch a couple videos. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe. Whether you hit the notification bell, I don't know. That's up to you because YouTube's been undinging those here lately again.
That's all right. DC's got your back.
Yeah. Dude, man, shit. Dude, fucking DC fan base, man, might blow me up to like 12,000.
Oh, so here comes, as always, I save mine for last. It is the most groundbreaking, earth-shaking, but never media shell money-taking, the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying YouTuber in YouTube entertainment today, Lee Cole IV. And on my channel, I have got some new and exciting things coming that I want to talk about. My Aliens watch party has been like on a hiatus with scheduling issues, but we're going to be putting out one of those. Let's talk. This Wednesday is going to feature Proper Jenny here on the channel. We are super excited because I finally have female representation. And no.
You about to piss off Mary.
No. I already had Mary on here. But now I have someone who's transitioning. So I have hit all communities and I'm super excited about that. So we're a very diverse channel. No. We're going to have Proper Jeremy. We're going to be talking about legacy and how certain things have done legacy characters right and certain things have done legacy characters wrong. And you guessed it, folks, we're going to be talking about Star Wars versus Cobra Kai and how each of the respected franchise have treated legacy. Also, I'm getting up with Angus, and we are going to do a spoof on Game of Thrones where we talk about how inanimate objects have affected the world of Game of Thrones, such as the shitter. Was Tyrion Lannister the only person to die from a crossbow, or have there been multiple people? Also, we will be talking about how the objects can have a effect on the world of Game of Thrones. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And I will be doing more reviews. I might do more joint reviews with these fine people on the panelists. For
what do you roll up in your joints?
That's for off air. I'm trying to keep this PG. All right.
Listen, kids, your teacher doesn't smoke crack. It's all right.
Oh my goodness. Kids, don't listen to the angry partier.
He's clean.
Well, it's just like your opinion, man.
But anyways, I wanted to thank all of the guests that I had on tonight. Thank you, Pop Culture. Thank you, Geek in Disguise, for coming in for about 20 minutes and then leaving for an hour or two. Thank you, Prime Geek. But no, all of these guys are great. If you're on my channel and you haven't seen their channels, go and check them out. Sub to them, please. And as always, me and my future wife, who passed away but hasn't in real life, so I still have a chance, Scarlett Johansson, will see you at the movies. You guys take care of yourselves. Bye. Everybody say bye.
Catch y'all on the flip.